on, brother?
I'm having a fantastic Sunday evening.
That's great, dude. That is absolutely great.
It's really beautiful out here, man. I mean, we've been through the ringer with all these rainstorms and snowstorms, and just haven't seen a lot of this kind of weather in a long time out here in California. But man,
Yeah, it's pretty. It's
um,
still pretty cold here.
yeah.
Yeah, we're in. You know that you remember that Pittsburgh weather.
Oh man, I remember being in a couple blizzards out there. I was there that one year we had those blizzards, and then
Yeah,
we had that abnormally warm weather with the rain, and we had that crazy flooding, and I think it was 95 or 96.
right. Yeah, like there hasn't been a lot of snow, but it still teases you with like a day where it kind of feels like spring, and then like 2 days later, like it's like Arctic temperatures again. It's just weather that's destined to get you sick. You
Man,
know.
I'm out here and I'm so spoiled. It hits like 60, 62 degrees. And I'm like, man, where's my winter coat? Where's my gloves?
I don't understand why any of us live on the East Coast other than we were just born here. like, we gotta. Everyone needs to start moving around. Like, yeah, I like seasons, but like, dude, this time the winter lasts the longest, and it just never seems to go away. And you just get cabin fever, and everyone's grumpy and depressed, and vitamin D. Like none of us have sufficient amounts of vitamin D. We're all dying from that. So I don't know.
People that go through like harsh winters, I
Oh
think
yeah,
we're more accustomed to getting through the pandemic and not leaving their houses.
yeah. That's kind of true. Well, anyway, I'm here once again with my dude Chris, and I don't mean to always harp on this, but I think it's always important to remind everybody that this dude works for Legacy Effects, and he
Woo!
has worked on a lot of the movies that you have seen, and continues to do awesome work in the industry. So we like to get together, me, him, and Paul. And Paul should be here on a little later, and just get into some of these movies that we like love so much and inspired us so much in our youth. And a few weeks back, we did 80s Spotlight. We made it up. I'm actually impressed how far we made it into the decade. We made it all the way to the end of '85, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
When
I
you
mean,
think about all
especially
the
for
movies.
80. Especially
Yeah,
because we spent a lot of time on 80 and 81.
right. We did.
I went back and watched it. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of time on
We
81. I mean, it's
we
a good
did.
year, but it's
Yeah,
like, oh, we were getting lost in it.
yeah. And then we got kind of tired as the episode went on, and fuck '84. Let's just get through it anyway.
I mean,
But
out of all the decades, Adam, in the group, I mean, the 80s is without question the decade, right? That everybody kind of gravitates
oh
to
yeah, for
as the
sure.
number one decade.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely, and even in our group, like we have our time line, from the '60s to the '90s, just to allow conversation of older and newer films. But I mean, we're primarily, I mean, like there's no doubt about it that we're primarily an '80s group. Like we just are. This is how it is. You know what I mean? And but yeah, I mean, there's just always so much to talk about within this decade. I mean, it's I don't know how much I'm repeating myself from the last episode, but it's the greatest decade of horror. Like,
Yeah.
and that I don't even think that can be argued.
So before we get into to the films from the specific years again, let's real quick. Let's talk about what made the 80s so goddamn good. What separates the 80s from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 90s, from the early 2000s? And I mean, you got in my mind. Obviously, I start with the leaps and bounds that practical makeup effects made as one of the key factors. I mean, you had realism, realism as far as the gore and the makeup on levels that we hadn't seen. I think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that definitely plays a huge part. Um, it wasn't just, I kind of, I love this movie, but I kind of use it as an example all the time. Like, Dawn of the Dead was made. It was right outside the cusp of the '80s, and it's still like in discussion for greatest zombie movie of all time.
Sure.
But the effects with some of the zombie effects and just the blue makeup and some it was just um, the gore effects were great, but it was just they just weren't there yet with some of the practical effects. And and then you got a Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead remake, Return of the Living Dead, and I mean it's you can really see that progression in the practical effects, and and I mean I think you hit the nail on the head because in a large part this is the glory years of practical effects. We don't have movies relying heavily on CGI um, and stuff of that nature. It's like you know these movies were still all the effects were grounded and made on set, and I think you know that's why this decade will never be duplicated
Right.
because unfortunately technology um, we kind of lost control of it, and we'll never go back to this era. It'll always be CGI and stuff of that sort. So I don't know.
I also wonder if those rock star directors that we got directing horror movies in the 80s, they all grew up on the Grindhouse era. They were kids, growing up on shit that had never been seen before. And I wonder if the Grindhouse era and what was in that era as far as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left, shit like that. How much did that influence those guys as well, just to make batshit crazy, stuff in the 80s? I think all that absolutely contributes as well. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's things like that. I mean, we're never going to get a Grindhouse era again, so you're never going to have, influential filmmakers that are influenced on a level like that. So yeah,
Right.
man, the 80s is a white unicorn, man. I mean, we'll never get anything like that again, I think.
I mean, part of the reason is like what you just kind of highlighted is like, during that era, a lot of there were these smaller studios that would greenlight, I don't want to say just about anything, but they would greenlight pretty extreme projects and take chances and take risks. And you know, it wasn't made by committee. It was um, the heart and soul of one filmmaker or a handful of people with a singular vision, and it wasn't you know these larger studios with writers' rooms and things of that sort. A lot of these movies are just made. It was a singular vision. Always takes lots of people to give birth to those ideas, but George Romero made those films. It wasn't George Romero and you know, well, I don't want to. It wasn't George Romero backed by a major studio. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So, um, and like the early '90s are still very much '80s esque, in a lot of aspects. Um, but you could start to tell that the tide was turning a little bit with those movies, just with like subject matter and stuff like that. I don't know, but I think we left off last week or a few weeks ago. I think the last one we got to in '85 was the stuff,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Can't wait to
Um,
make.
yeah. Now going down here, I felt compelled. Like I kind of wanted to jump right into '86, but I felt compelled to give a shout out to Vampire Hunter D before we did so. Now you are much more the anime guy than I am, but like that is a solid anime, like a horror anime. Like that's one of the few that I've seen, and it's like it's a masterpiece.
Oh yeah, I mean, it predates Blood the Last Vampire by what? over 20 years.
Yeah.
Or no, almost 20 years. I'm sorry. It's great. I mean, pinnacle anime film. Came out a couple of years before Akira. Did you ever see the remake? They did like a remake cartoon, I think.
Was it a remake or like a sequel? I haven't. In
Yeah,
either case, I haven't seen it.
just, I don't know, it's okay. There's just something about the original and the art style and I just love it, man. It's just a
Yeah.
lot of fun. It's it's early anime, so you're just don't go in there expecting CGI, and cell animation combining to look awesome. It's just it's old school anime and it's a lot of fun. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So that kind of wraps up 85. I don't like this immediately when you see Underworld, I think of cartoon werewolves and vampires fighting each other, but that's not what this is. This is apparently written by Clive Barker. Have you even heard of this? Underworld
Hmm.
and
I don't know much about
Transmutation?
that one.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Hey, Adam, here's one. I mean, it's definitely more of a comedy, but Teen Wolf.
As far as
Now that's 85. Some people look at that as like comedy, horror spoof.
yeah, I mean,
I think it's strictly a
I
comedic
love Teen
film.
Wolf. I love Teen Wolf, but like, I mean, just look at the design of the werewolf. Like he looks like a wet mop, you know? He looks like a wet mop.
Him and his dad, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, he's all, they almost look like Care Bears or something. Like it's not even like not even close to being scary.
Well, you know what I think they went off of? I think they went off the original Wolf Boy. Like
Okay.
that medical condition. I think they just went off of that look.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have. Like the like lycanthropy or
Yeah.
like lycanthropy or whatever it's called.
Yeah, those guys in the old circus freak shows.
Yeah, that have like the hairs all over and I'm just
Yeah,
like
yeah. I think they totally went with that look. They just, they gave the Teen Wolf werewolf fangs.
right. But I
Anyway,
mean, I love that movie. I
that's
love
not
that movie, but it's not horror.
that's not horror at all.
Like I don't think I'd freak out if somebody posted something in the group about it, though. I mean,
This is another movie that makes 85 so good. It's got,
it's
it's
so
on the
great, dude.
fringe
Yeah,
line of horror, but it's definitely comedy.
yeah, for sure. All right, so let's
86.
what's that?
86. Let's do it, man.
86. Let's do it. All right. So, oh no, that's not how we do it. Let's all right, 86. So,
Come on, swing and start with the heavy hitters.
should we do that first?
Yeah.
All right. Well, going down the line, like April Fool's Day. I know, not a heavy hitter, but I know a lot of people were into that one.
Very interesting ending.
Yeah, if Paul was in here, I'm sure he could dissect this. But
because the ending is all just a joke, right? Like none of the murders happen.
Yeah. Well, spoiler alert.
Sorry, dude. Hey, man, we're talking 1986.
That's true. Just case in point, if anybody hasn't seen any of these movies in the 80s, we're going to talk about the whole thing. So
that's a good point. That's a good point, Adam.
And in Vampire Hunter D, he was the son of Dracula. See, I didn't even want to say that, but that's why I love that movie. Anyway, all right. So yeah, April Fool's Day. I think that like the whole thing was like a hoax, and like I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember many of the kills being memorable, but I could totally be wrong.
Yeah, and it doesn't like. It's all a joke or it was all a dream. I hate movies like that. I just, I feel like
I think the first time I saw April Fool's Day, it was on a Friday night on HBO. I think they played this and then they played Humongous afterward.
Yeah, well, that's kind of. I mean, Humongous is pretty good.
Yeah.
Chopping Mall. You have any love for this one?
I do, man. And there's a lot of love for it in the group as well. It's great. Barbara Crampton's great. What's the actress from Night of the Comet that's in it? She's great.
She's hot, but I don't remember.
I
Is it Kelly Maroney?
Yeah,
Yes.
yep. I went to a 30-year presentation of this at the Egyptian Theater down in Hollywood,
Mhm.
and it was amazing. And they had the whole cast, and the director was there, and they did a Q&A afterwards for like an hour. Dude, it was great, man. It was a lot of fun. It made me appreciate the movie even more, seeing it on the big screen and then watching the Q&A with the whole cast and crew afterward.
We just ruined that ending for someone. To go, we ruined it for Ryan.
I know, man.
Sorry, dude. Sorry, dude. Sorry about that.
Now, do you like Shopping Mall?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of issues with it just because I think the whole sitch is kind of false advertisement. First of all, there's no chopping occurs in this entire movie.
Right.
Now,
I mean,
like when you
it's not okay. Like when I'm
like
talking like
look at
creme
the
de la creme
poster.
80s films, it's not there, but I feel there it might be in the second tier of just really fun, enjoyable horror.
I know it's kind of small, probably from what you can see. Here, wait, let me click on this. So here's the poster. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, I can see it.
All right. So first of all, like chopping mall with like the blood dripping down. Doesn't that kind of like insinuate like there's going to be like some maniac in the mall chopping people's body parts up and stuff like that?
Well, even a step further, it gives you like a Terminator-esque hand.
It does. It took me a long time, like to even see the wires.
Yeah.
I just saw like kind of like this part with the fingernail. So I was okay. Is it like some kind of monster? Like I don't know. Nothing with like a dude's decapitated head in the bag. Like that's very slasher-esque, wouldn't you say? And
And
like
when the killbots look nothing like it, sure.
yeah, nothing like that happens in the entire movie. So a little false advertisement there. I don't know. I dig it. I mean, it's a good flick.
It's not one I watch every year, but when it's on, I'll definitely I'll watch it.
What's going on, Mary Jo? So, yeah, same thing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There is some mad love in the group for that movie. Roger Durkin, if you're watching,
Oh yeah,
that dude is like all about this movie.
our friends from across the ocean, they love it, man.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean,
You think just like
all the AJ and
oh
Ryan,
yeah, yeah,
those
just like
guys,
kind
yeah,
of like
they
in
they
general,
love Chopping Mall.
just must be something about this flick. All right, Class of Nukem High. I feel like I should know this one more than I do. Thoughts?
Is this the second trauma film ever made?
Let's look. It is trauma.
Yeah, they did this right after the original Toxic Avenger, I think. Boy, we would need Paul to speak on this film because of his love for trauma. I am not familiar with
Yeah,
this film.
I'm not well versed.
Right.
Um,
Paul right now would be like, oh man, he'd go right into it.
right. Mary J. Oh no, Chris, hold back. Return of
Oh
the
well,
Living
look
Dead
at
is
this.
a
I mean,
fave of
Return of the
mine.
Dead is 87, so that
Yeah, we haven't got there yet, but we're
yeah,
getting
we're
there.
coming up on 8.
My son loves the gate. All right.
You know,
So like,
they're 87.
all right.
Critters, huh? Oh man, what a great film. You know, some people think this is better than Gremlins.
I'm not one of them,
I'm
but
not either,
but
but
I love Critters.
I really like Critters a lot. I
Yeah.
think it's when it comes to that subgenre with creatures like that, I think it's in the tier below Gremlins.
See, when I was a kid, I don't know about you, but Gremlins was just, as you like to say, butt hair below, like the real big tentpole movies, like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, like that kind of stuff. I loved Gremlins, like loved Gremlins. Like that was like a huge part of my childhood. I just really, that original movie is freaking fantastic. When
Oh
was
yeah,
that made? We
Oof,
haven't talked about that yet, have we?
no. When
I
was
guess
it?
we'll. No, it had to have already been made because this is one of the first Gremlins ripoffs. Ripoffs in quotation marks because it's
Well,
still.
Gremlins would have been 85.
Yeah, and
Did
this
we
came out
talk
in
about
80s.
it? I thought we had to have talked about it.
Yeah, we probably talked about it last week
Yeah.
or last episode.
I remember
I
all the
mean,
movies that came after Gremlins. I mean, there was this, there was Munchies,
Goalies.
Ghoulies, and that all came from what was one of the first films that did that? The Boglins, right?
With the Boglins, I have a Boglin, but those were the puppets. Yeah, let me go grab it. I think you're talking about the Hobgoblins.
No, in 81, it wasn't the Boglins. I think it was
Remember the
the
Boglins?
Yeah, yeah, I
Remember these
remember.
freaking toys, dude?
But there was a movie from 80 or 81. These like, I love the Boglins, man.
Yeah, dude, they're the best.
Yeah, they're great. They make new ones, man, with like fluorescent colors. They're
Yeah,
awesome. But yeah, there was like a movie in 80 or 81, like these underground cave creatures. I think it was called the Boggins.
Boggins. Yes, the Boggins. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So the Boggins predated Gremlins, and I think the Boggins might have been one of the first films in that in that reimagining of the subgenre.
I've heard all
But
kinds of
Critters is
urban.
great. I love it.
Oh, it is. I mean, have you heard though that the spec script from this came from Spielberg's first pitch for ET 2? Have you ever heard that?
No.
Yeah, dude. Originally, he and thank God he never made a sequel. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind a sequel now, I guess, but he originally conceived it as evil ETs come to the come to Earth, and ET has to come back and like like rescue everybody or like help everybody like do something against the evil ET. I think he called it what did he like night sky or watch the skies or something like that. It was like ET subtitle like watch the skies or something. And they were
That
just
would have been
some
amazing.
yeah, it kind of would have been, right? And but they didn't do it. But apparently like some of those ideas were still floating out there. And
Big ideas you hear about decades later, and you're like, man, if they would have done that, it would have changed history.
yeah, right. But at the same time, I've always heard that that Critters was based on like actual events. Well, actual events, like an actual let's see, production.
Like an actual UFO
Like
sighting,
an
or
actual UFO encounter, yeah.
okay.
Of aliens like terrorizing a farmhouse. But
That's
anyway,
just like you hear about actual events surrounding the Amityville story, and then
yeah.
come to find out the whole family was a con artist family.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're still making those Amity movies.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, they won. Their lie propelled them into
It's like a whole genre of its own.
yeah.
My buddies over at Amityville, like, they were doing like they were trying to watch every movie that had Amityville in the title, and it was like insane. It was like Amityville, I don't know, Amityville Shark Attack, like like really weird shit. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. I mean, yeah, Critters, I would say, is fairly iconic. You know, the puppetry in this is like off the charts,
Yeah, it's really good, man.
and I'll tell you what, as much as the critters themselves make the movie for me, the bounty hunters, dude, make this like a whole other level of cool for me. Like just how like they don't have faces and they're like trying to absorb, um, they have to like like connect to something in order to change face. And I
So
think
There's a really great sci-fi vibe in this movie, and 86 is really interesting because we'll talk about it. I don't know if you want to talk about it next, but Night of the Creeps has a really great sci-fi aspect to it as well. I really, really like it when a film leans on horror, but then brings in like a sci-fi aspect to the story or to the plot. I love it, man.
Sure. I mean, we'll go back up, but since you brought it up, we'll just go there. Night of the Creeps. Um, all
Top
right,
10 greatest. I think some people might put Night of the Creeps top 10 greatest 80s film on their list.
for sure, and like, I'm a Monster Squad purist, so this is tough for me to say, but this is Fred Decker's best movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, don't you think?
Um,
Not RoboCop 3.
no, definitely not. No, it would definitely be either this or Monster Squad. I mean, on a different day, you'll probably get me saying a different thing. If I'm hanging out with my boys and I'm feeling like super into being a dad and there's all that love in the air, Monster Squad's going to really sell itself as far as being
I'll tell
so
you what, Monster
so.
Squad can still bring a tear to my eye.
Oh
And,
yeah,
you
man.
know,
And it's got everything you like too. It's got a little bit of that Amblin vibe, and it's got monsters, and different variations of what we grew up with. So it's amazing. But Night of the Creeps, man, it's got serial killer, it's got sci-fi aliens, it's got zombies, it's got slugs. Man, dude, it's got it
I
all.
love how like Decker plays to like his passions. So like his two best movies, in my opinion, are Monster Squad and this, and they're like direct homages to like movies that he grew up with.
Yeah,
The Universal monsters and also the sci-fi alien invasion films of like the 50s and early 60s. That whole beginning of the film, that I think it even takes place in that time frame, doesn't it?
yeah. It takes place in
Um,
the late 50s, right, or
yeah, and it's
early
very
60s.
reminiscent of almost like the Blob,
Yeah.
with like the alien thing coming down and everything. And so, yeah, dude, I just love it. I love movies like that pay homage to like the directors, like what got them started loving this genre to begin with.
When I think back to the 1980s, obviously it's a long time ago, so there's a lot of blur in there. But when I think back about movies that just stick out in my mind, as far as me remembering the first times I watched them, Night of the Creeps is definitely up there.
Yeah. Ryan says, hope they do not remake it. Mixed emotions about that.
Oh, so he's not wrong, but I think we've talked about this. I feel I'm okay with remakes as long as the passion is there for the original story, as long as there's a budget there that's going to allow you to do it correctly.
He says RoboCop 3 is easily in the top 3 for feature length films. I guess that's true. Since there's only 3. Yeah. But anyway, sorry. Continue.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love Night of the Creeps. I love
Would you want to see a remake?
I'm okay. I'm okay with it. As long, listen, I hate remake. So I'm kind of talking out of both ends here. I hate remakes, but I like them if they're done right.
But some of our favorite movies, me and you collectively, are remakes.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this earlier in the group. Phantasm, the idea behind Phantasm and the Tall Man, one of the great stories in horror history. That story is so original and so evil and so badass that this man from this other dimension is wiping out towns and replacing people with these fucked up creatures. That's awesome, man.
Is that
I
what
don't
he's doing?
feel any of the films do that story or that idea justice. And I think the big reason is the budget, unfortunately, on a lot of those. I think probably the best one is part 2. That's the one that if I'm gonna watch a Phantasm movie, I'm gonna watch part 2. But
Mm.
man, dude, imagine if you had a budget. Imagine if you had a good casting director that could find the right tall man. I mean, my God, the right director that had a passion for the original story. Dude, I'm telling you, man, we could witness something great if done right.
Who would you want for a Phantasm
A
reboot?
director for the tall man. Because fuck, man, I don't know. Tall man, you got to look at older actors, right? But not
Clancy
somebody
Brown.
that old. I mean, Angus Scrimm, I think he was only 50 when he did 50 something when he first did the tall man.
What about Clancy Brown?
Yeah, man.
You know
A lot of people talk about him. He'd be amazing. I don't think he's too old. He's,
I mean, fuck,
you know
Paul
what?
can
He's
do it. He's 6
he's
foot.
older than Angus Scrimm was when he first did it, but I think Clancy Brown would be great.
Paul's 6'8". He can do it. Our buddy
Paul
Paul.
is?
Yeah, dude, he's tall as fuck.
Paul's 6'8"?
No, I'm not. He's not that tall. But next to me, he seems like it. I think he's 6'3". He's a big fucker.
Yeah, that's pretty tall, man.
He might be 6'4". Actually, I think he's 6'4". He's a tall dude. All right.
Night of the Creeps is amazing.
Yeah. Night of the Creeps, amazing. Okay. Dead End Driving. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Dude, this is a legit movie. Like it's basically about it's post-apocalyptic. Where like resources are scarce, it's overpopulated, and it takes place in Australia. So it's kind of got that like Mad Max thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they lure people in to this drive-in and say it's like a free drive-in or whatever. But once you drive into the drive-in, this giant gate closes behind you. Excuse me, and you're not allowed to leave. And like you basically like they just put like the worst people in the country into this area. They trap them there, and they have to like figure out how to live, and they just live like in the drive-in.
And what, stalk you once you get trapped in there?
No, it's basically like you're left to your own devices. It's I'm trying to think of an equivalent. You're stuck in there, and whatever happens. Like they don't care.
Sounds like Escape from New York in a drive-in.
Yeah, right. You're basically yes, very good. Yeah, you're basically just left there. You're abandoned.
Huh.
Yeah.
Are they playing any movies while you're trapped in there?
No, but people are like everybody brought their cars originally, right? So that's what everyone's living out of. Everyone's living out of their cars. So everyone's car is like their own like house, and everyone's just like living in it. And like the snack bar, bathroom, like everyone's like washing themselves in there, and it's just I don't know. It's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. I liked it.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah. You might have more to say about Deadly Friend than I do.
Oh, what to say about Deadly Friend that hasn't already been said? It's a terrible film.
Yeah, one of Craven's worst stuff.
I mean, listen, I respect the hell out of Wes Craven. Obviously, he did one of the great horror films of all time in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I also feel what he did for the original Scream should be recognized as a really big achievement, because I think Scream is, even though it's in the 90s, I think it's a next level horror film for what it did for the 90s. But back to Deadly Friend. I don't think it's a good movie at all. I think it's one of many films that he did that I'm just not a fan of.
Yeah.
And it's got really horrible effects in it. Really bad, cringy acting from Christy Swanson, and it's poop. It's not good, man.
No, it's not.
But I mean, hey, you know what? There's people in the group that are like, I love that movie. That's awesome. I'm glad they like it. I can't stand it.
Right.
What do you think about it?
I mean, I only saw it once, I think, and um, I don't know. It was kind of disjointed. Um, it kind of, I don't know. The story didn't really seem like it was going anywhere. The effects weren't anything special, and I don't
You
know.
got the head exploding scene with the actress from Goonies and Throw Mama from the Train.
Right.
It's a horrible scene.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I am not a fan. So what's next? Demons 2. You still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I like Demons 2. I don't love it. I love Demons 1.
I do too, dude. I love Demons 1.
Demons 2
I
kind of
never
gets
have a lot to say
lost
about that.
in the towards the end of the second act, going into the third act.
Right.
It kind of recaptures itself at the end, but the end is just fuck all weird, man. I'm not really. All these years later, I'm still not quite sure what the hell happened at the end.
I'm not either.
Like they get into the TV station, and what's the premise? Like the TV, if the TV zooms in on her, then the same thing is going to happen to the world. Like the demons will come out of the TVs all over the world, and it's almost like spreading the demon plague.
Yeah. He says,
Yeah,
was that apartment building 1? Was
yeah,
that
that's
the
the apartment building one. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and it kind of seems like the Evil Dead remake is taking large inspiration from this, doesn't it? Like the Evil Dead Rises or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But man, dude, I mean that main demon makeup on the girl from Demons 2, it's fucking amazing. It is fucking so good, man. Like they took some of the best aspects of what they did, because it's a very similar thing to what they did with the makeups in the first one, but they refined it, man. They made it even better. And like
Yeah.
the broken capillary vein work that they do on that makeup on her in Demons 2 is fucking gross, man.
Yeah,
It
it
is
really is.
so cool.
Right.
I love it, man. It's the best part of the movie. I mean, I watched that movie just to watch her, that actress, in that makeup, run around and scream, because it's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, Limberto Baba.
I still don't understand the whole thing though about her watching that show, the movie again, and then it's weird because on that one they go back to the theater, right? So she's watching a documentary crew go back to the theater from part 1, and somebody cuts themselves and the blood resurrects one of the dead demons in the alleyway outside of the movie theater, and then
Right.
that demon's face somehow transfers through the TV. Very, very odd.
Yeah, Ryan said Demon 2 was my intro to Italian horror. I love it so much.
Oh, Ryan, I love it too, man. But you got to admit,
Like
the
before
way
it,
that
the original Demons is like far superior, right?
and it works better with the whole, the mask. The mask is there as a prop, but it's set there on purpose for somebody to fuck up and cut themselves. So that works. I can believe that, even though we're talking about fucking demons. I can
Right.
believe that. I can believe that as a probable thing that would happen. What happens in Demons 2 is so much more outside the box and improbable in a world like that
Yeah.
I think it hurts the film in my eyes.
Me too.
And then, man, it's got that really bad fucking baby demon that comes out of the kid.
Says the demons look so good. Today's demons are so lame most of the time. What's up
Oh
with
yeah,
that? Well, they're usually CGI aberrations, aren't they? Like they're usually it's not practical effects. Like the cool thing about the demons, the 2 demons movies, is that they at heart they were possession films, right? Weren't
yeah,
they?
yeah. They
Like
get taken over by,
they
but
get taken over.
It's almost like a virus, right? It's like a
Yeah.
viral. It's almost like Rec 2 before Rec 2.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Um. So you know,
Dude, how about a remake for these? You could do a combo. Like, you don't even have to do a Demons 2 or a Demons 1. Just a remake, and maybe have an aspect of 1 and or 2, or do a whole new story, or just redo 1 and make it better. But fuck, man, that would
or
be
combine
amazing.
them. Yeah.
Oh
Right. Right.
man.
Yeah. For sure. Yep. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna get right to it. The Fly.
Here we go. I was waiting for you to bring this one up, bud. Talk to me, man. Tell me about your love for this and why you feel it's better than the Blob.
Okay. I think The Fly is not only one of the best remakes in horror. It is a legitimate horror masterpiece.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
it is just so fucking great. Um, Let me try to put it a little bit more eloquently than that. It's just it's Fincher's best. Not Fincher. Cronenberg. It's Cronenberg's best movie. I think it's his best movie. And when you look at his filmography, I mean that really means something. Um, he's the absolute master of body horror, and I think no film represents that as much as this one does. He took a rather mundane, classic but mundane concept of that. I think it was 56 or 57 movie, which I love, by the way,
It's good. Yeah.
and turned it into this whole other thing. Like this is first of all, just talking about the remake aspect of the movie. This is 100% what a remake should be. It should honor the original film, but change it just enough to make it its own thing. And the fact that he went like the DNA route as opposed to just swapping limbs
Right.
from the other entity, that it was a gradual change. Um, it just it represented just like like people that have ever had like a serious like disease or illness or things of that sort, um, or even just aging in general. You're kind of uh, your body kind of goes to war with you, like whether you like it or not.
Oh,
And
brother, that's like
right, I'm feeling that now. I'm turning 44 this year, and I don't feel like I used to feel.
no. My
I,
40s have not been good to me.
yeah, dude. Well, my early 40s were fine, and I used to wake up every day saying, "Ah, I still feel like I'm 20 something." I can't say that anymore. And it happened like that, you know. And I just think the practical effects in this movie are just top notch. And like the cool thing about it is like you don't just have the finished product, like because it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process of effects, each more profound and affecting than the next, until you get to the Mona Lisa at the end, which is the fucking Brundlefly, which is like absolute art. Um,
It's damn near
now
a perfect film.
that's the thing. It's a damn near perfect film. Um, is it fun? I don't know. I enjoy watching this movie. I could watch it just for Jeff Goldblum's performance alone.
Good horror doesn't have to be fun. It can just be fucking good. And
Yeah,
and we'll talk about it when we get to 88 with the Blob.
yeah,
But just to do a quick little side by side on those,
yeah,
the Blob is not on the same level as the Fly when it comes to prestige. Correct.
yeah.
I think I think on a serious level as well, The Fly is to be taken way more seriously as you know what happens in the story. I think The Blob is one of those films where it's not just really good, but it's so much fun to
Yeah.
watch because so many things happen in the movie that you just smile. You know, it brings a smile to your face when you see shit go down in The Blob. Not that you don't see that in The Fly, because you do, but The Fly is so much more horrific as far as what you know what you're seeing. You're seeing the transformation of this human being into something that's not human,
Right.
and it's beautiful to watch.
It really is.
I mean, it's disgusting, but we look at it as something beautiful because we're watching something happen. We're watching this human being transmogrify into something that we don't recognize, and it is just incredible. You know, Chris Wallace, you know, did a really great job with that stuff, and it was done at just the right time, I think, where they were able to take some of those advancements, you know, in the mid '80s with special makeup effects and really just hit a home run with that stuff. Does, you
Yeah.
know, does it all transfer now, you know, 35, 40 years later? You know, maybe not. But fuck, man. I mean, what does? And that movie, I think, still is an incredible watch and definitely one of the best films of the '80s.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Those pods, man. Those pods are so
Those
badass.
pods are so freaking cool. They're so iconic. I mean, I actually put them up there with some of the more iconic 80's, you know, sci-fi images of that era, like the DeLorean and Back to the Future, or the Millennium Falcon to a certain extent. Although I know that's way up there. You
If
know,
I ever
I
had
just
space, I'm gonna have somebody build like one of those pods for me with LEDs inside to give it that green look and
oh, dude, how awesome would that be?
put a fucking smoke machine in there so when you open it up, smoke comes
It,
out. I'm telling you, man, I want that.
and then chunks of like I don't know styrofoam or something that's
Put some
supposed to
dog
be the
fur on it,
monkey.
some
You
fake dog
know,
fur.
yeah,
Or no, it's a monkey in that one.
the
The dog
monkey.
was
Yeah,
part two.
yeah.
Right, right.
All right. I would not be a horror fan if I didn't bring this movie up.
Ah, where is Paul? Paul's got to be here. This is one of his favorites.
You know what? Maybe I'll skip for this for a moment. I'm gonna skip this for a minute.
Just for a minute, let's see if Paul
Let's
gets
see
on
if he
here in the
pops
next
up.
10 minutes.
And also from Beyond, I'm gonna skip because me and him share a story with that. All right, Henry, Portrait of Serial Killer. Now I'm only bringing this up because it's brought up so often. Um, not a fan of this one. I'm not a fan of like uber realistic horror.
I
I don't get the fun in watching people suffer. Really, it doesn't really translate well for me.
I hate films like Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave. This film is probably in that genre. I look at this film a little bit differently than those because you don't see a woman getting raped for the entire movie. But it's still it's in that same ballpark, man. It's realistic as hell, and man, is it unsettling as a motherfucker. I know it's really old, but I won't spoil the ending because the ending is truly uh, you're sitting there trying to pick your jaw up off the floor because you're like, that is not what I'm watching right now. That is not happening. And it's like, oh, it happened. And then you're just like, shit. It's a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yeah, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. If you haven't seen it,
It's definitely worth a watch. Now, I wouldn't recommend. I don't feel like a movie like Last House on the Left is worth a watch at all. But I look at
no,
Henry
and
as worth a
people
watch.
defend that one like is one of the great examples of like this genre, and I think that's one of the worst ones.
Yeah, I know. Like, I want to know what in your head is telling you that if you watch that movie a couple times a year, why? Like, I don't understand those films.
Yeah, I don't understand watching them more than okay. like a few times. Like,
Now I haven't seen Henry in about 12 years. So I would sit down and watch it since it's been over a decade since I've seen it.
I mean, I put it up there with like there are certain movies you have to watch. You don't have to watch. You don't have to do anything. But as a horror film, as a horror fan, I felt compelled to watch it. Like one of them, was Cannibal Holocaust, which we talked about before. Um, like Sallow, 120 Days of Sodom. Like those kind of movies where like you're not really watching it for enjoyment. You're kind of just watching it to like notch, it's another notch on your belt or something. Like, okay, I saw it. Um, I'm never aching to see these movies ever again. And I kind of put this movie in that category.
Is that a testament to how good Michael Rooker is in that role, though?
I think so. I think it's all. I think it's all based on him. I think it's all based on his character work in that movie. Because without him in that movie, that movie is just straight trash.
Yeah,
But
it's like campy schlock.
yeah, but because it's him, doing his, and he's one of those guys that like plays like a psycho so well. Like he just got it down.
And it's got a documentary feel because it's low budget and
Yeah,
even a grindhouse feel to a degree, like an early 70s vibe. Man, that definitely worth a watch. But yeah, it's one of those movies where it's a tough watch, if you want to watch it multiple times.
right.
Kind of like the remake for Maniac.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a hell of a movie, but that's a damn near a snuff film, and it's a tough watch. That's another movie you maybe want to watch once every 8 to 10 years.
How about the Hitcher with Rutger Hauer?
Oh, so good. So good, Adam.
I mean, here's my take on this film. People bring up time and time again that the Terminator, the original The Terminator, is a horror film.
Hmm.
I think somebody like took that aspect and just kind of ran with it here. He's very Terminator-esque in the sense that like he just doesn't stop. He's relentless.
Yeah. He has
Um,
a singular focus, and that's to cause mayhem and death.
right. And like once he has his eyes set on you to die, like that's it. Like he comes
Yeah.
after you and he never stops. Like he's unrelenting.
And the shit that goes down in this movie, dude. My
Yeah.
fucking God. I mean, should we put up our spoiler alert?
Well, I think we already blew that up. If you're watching us right now, and only one person is, but that's fine. Uh, that we're gonna talk about the entire movie. So if you haven't
Well,
seen these movies,
fuck,
you've
what
been
happens
warned.
to a girl, man? And when you see it for the first time, like in your mind, you're like, yeah, that's not gonna happen, but it does. It happens.
Yep. Yeah.
And
I
you're
mean,
sitting there, you're like, what the fuck, man? They got to stop it. And nobody, it's not, it doesn't stop.
yep.
Brutal, man.
That guy wins.
I like the twist in the remake too.
I haven't seen that one. Oh,
It's definitely not as good.
is that Sean Bain was like the guy?
I don't remember.
I think it was Sean Bain. But anyway, yeah, good movie. Rutger Hauer, man, he was just a man, wasn't he?
Love him, man. The only role I really didn't like him in at all was in that stupid TV series remake of Salem's Lot on TNT.
Yeah, I agree.
He was fucking terrible in that role.
All right, Steve Miner, House.
Oh, love it.
I mean, this doesn't get talked about enough as like one of the best ghost story or haunted house movies out there.
It's so unique too because it's got a
Yep.
lot of different things going on in it, right?
And it's the quintessential 80s horror comedy where the
I love the stuff.
comedy doesn't necessarily overshadow the horror
Yeah.
and vice versa. You know?
And who's the actor?
The
Greatest
guy,
American.
the greatest American hero, William Catt.
Oh, so great. This is a great movie.
It really is, dude. And like, there were layers to this because like he's supposed to be a Vietnam veteran,
Oh yeah,
and like the big bad, if I remember correct. Oh yeah,
yeah. Big Ben,
was Big Ben, who was like his
Robert
buddy in
Mueller.
Vietnam, who like blamed him for dying in the war.
Yeah,
I
Robert
mean,
Mueller. He was such a badass villain every time he played one.
yeah, for sure. Um,
He plays the evil sorcerer in Sword and the Sorcerer from the early '80s, that
mm,
Albert Kuhn film. He's fucking demonic as hell. It's great.
but that's just like such a great little haunted house movie, you know?
Yeah, because remember he loses it's his son, right? His son
Mhm.
gets kidnapped into the house,
Yeah,
so
it's very
he
much like
spends the whole
Poltergeist.
time looking.
It's like Poltergeist,
Yeah,
and he has to go into like the vortex or the void or whatever to go find his son.
and come to find out, you find out that because of what happened, he goes through a divorce, and he's on his last legs. He's depressed. I mean, there's a lot going on in that story. It's really good, man.
Yeah, it's a good 80s, yeah, good flick. All right, this next one up is a very special movie for me.
Oh, okay.
It's probably, and I know this is gonna make your eye twitch. It's probably my favorite Toby Hooper film,
Now, see, I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm excited.
Invaders from Mars.
Woo! Yeah, it's good, man.
Dude, I love this movie. I
Yeah,
fucking love this movie.
yeah.
Um, it's never brought up, and I get it to an extent. It's never brought up as one of the great remakes, but I think unjustly so. I really, the original Invaders from Mars is a great, great, great movie, and like he took this in such a campy, like it was still very much a horror film, even though the first one wasn't at all. It was straight sci-fi, but this
Right.
is straight. I mean, there are some horrific elements in this. Um, but he kind of showed his wacky TCM2 side in this a little, and like these things that look ridiculous are supposed to look ridiculous, like the giant aliens with the giant
Yeah.
gaping mouths, and like do you remember the mother alien or
Oh
the
yeah,
head
that
alien that
seems to
looks like
have that '50s camp vibe.
yeah, and he looks like Krang from Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
and but like the yeah, I gotta when the teacher swallowed the dang frog, like yes, dude, that was horrifying. Like that's one of the best parts of the movie. And but yeah, and now I had something to say.
The
I don't know.
effects are great. I thought Stan's effects were really good, and when we
Yeah, when
do
they're getting pulled
when we
in.
do one of our specials with Shane, we can talk to him about this movie. He'll have some stories about it. I've seen some really cool designs as well, some sketches that Stan did from back in the day when they were trying to come up with concept ideas
Yeah.
for some of the aliens. Man, it's fun. It's just it's got that fun factor that the Blob has. It doesn't take itself too seriously,
So
and I
this
think
came
because
out
you can just flow with some of the absurdity in the film.
this came out in '86, so I was like
Right?
7 years old. And when his parents get like that thing in the neck
Yeah,
and like they're acting all weird. Like that was the first time I think I'd ever seen like a movie portraying like what happened. It was so scary because it was like what would happen if your actual parents turned against you. And it scared the shit out of me thinking about that. It breaks your heart and scares the shit out of you at the same time. You know what I mean? So
there's a
anyway,
lot of horror with kids. Um, around this time. I feel
Like
like
like the
86,
stuff did
87.
that. The stuff did that too with like your parents are infected with the thing and like that was a big thing in the 80s where like movies about like parents that
Well, like the 88 parents, you know?
yes, yeah, and that's a great one.
Yeah.
That is a great one. All right, so that was that one. Photoshop horrors. I don't consider this horror, but I think it. Um,
I'd love it a whole lot more if it wasn't a musical.
it's one of the few musicals I don't mind.
It's not that I don't mind it because I grew up with it. My cousin actually took me to the theater. Uh, I was at home on opening weekend and I was actually watching. I think I was watching The Stuff on HBO, and my cousin came over and she asked my parents if she could take me to go see this. So we went to the theater and we saw this, and I didn't like the songs that much back then when I saw it as a kid, and I don't think that changed much throughout my whole life. I just don't like the song and dance routines in this movie that much. I like the horror aspects. I love the puppetry. I love the original ending too, by the way. But I don't know, not really into the song.
What was the original ending, and what was the new ending?
Uh, the Audrey two eats Seymour and Audrey, and then propagates and takes over the world.
That was the. And what actually happened in the movie? I don't even remember.
They
Like the
kill the
one.
Audrey too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest poster I've ever
What
seen
is
for
that?
this movie. Maximum Overdrive. Why
Oh,
is
I've
that the
never seen
poster?
that one for that movie. That's
Why
why
is
I
it
didn't recognize
this
it.
guy? That's really bizarre.
Huh.
Um,
Only Stephen King film he ever directed, right?
yep. He learned his lesson.
Yeah. It's not good. It's got its fans in the group, but it's not a good movie. I'm a big fan of Emilio Estevez.
What a fun movie. Yeah,
You're
it
right.
kind of
It is
is.
a fun movie. But is it a good movie? Like we've talked about movies that are good and fun, movies that are just good. This movie's fun, but it's not good.
He has said he's put on record he doesn't even remember making this movie because he was
Wow.
so drunk and high on alcohol and high on
Wow.
cocaine that he doesn't even remember making it, which kind of shows in the finished product.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good flick.
How'd they get the rights to do the Green Goblin on the front of that
Yeah,
semi?
I've always asked that
How the
because
fuck did that happen?
I was never a super big comic book fan, so I didn't get even what that was until I was older. And like like Marvel is like like they won't let you show anything because
Yeah.
everything is copyright now. So how did they get? Yeah, how did they get the permission?
Marvel gets mad if I show something that I worked on for them from like 5 years ago. It's like, yo, dude, that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Thank you. Good
Yeah,
question about
interesting,
that
right?
goblin. I guess you.
Didn't somebody in the group fabricate like a new version? They had one of those.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right.
I'd fucking love to have that hanging up somewhere, like that size, like in my garage or something.
It would be awesome.
You could
But
have like LEDs and eyes for the
would
red
anybody
logo.
ever get the reference to the movie, or would they just think that you're a big Marvel fan?
I think my kids would think Marvel. They wouldn't understand the reference.
Right. But like it was a cool little thing to give that truck personality.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you had to, man, because we were going to be scared of what, just trucks.
Well, have you ever seen Dole?
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like there's a way. There's a way. That truck in Duel is like terrifying. But I liked how that, the big bad, the big truck in this one just had that face on it, just to give it a little bit of nastiness, a little personality.
Or demonic
Yeah.
instead of sci-fi. Because I guess deep down that movie, the story, it's more science fiction.
Yeah. For sure.
What's this?
I mean, he
Who
he
is this?
does that.
Poltergeist 2?
King does that a lot, though. He makes movies about Christine and stuff like that. There's a movie. There's a book called The Buick 8. He likes to write stories about things that like get personalities of their own or intelligence of their own. But yeah,
I think if you give inanimate objects human aspects of an evil or of an evil personality, I think it makes inanimate objects scary.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Because human nature is evil.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember watching The Stuff. I know we've already talked about that, but every time I went to Shop and Save, do they have Shop and Saves out there in California, by the way? Or is that an East Coast
No,
thing?
they don't.
Do you have Giant Eagle?
No, man. I haven't seen Giant Eagles past Ohio.
What's your shopping center?
We have
Oh,
Pavilions and Ralph's.
What are they?
Pavilions, Ralph's, and Vaughn.
Huh.
You know what we have out here? Do you guys have Aldi?
We have Aldi.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have Aldi.
See, I grew up with Aldi's in Indiana, and Aldi's just started coming out here like 5-8 years ago.
Interesting. But no Shop and Save and Giant Eagle. I would feel so lost. I just come to your house every day for dinner. But anyway, yeah, the cool thing about like the stuff, and the reason I'm bringing this up is like inanimate objects that like get sentience or become evil. Like I remember like walking through the yogurt section after I saw the stuff, just kind of giving it like a side eye, just waiting for something to move or something, And like I'm just like, that's awesome. The fact that you can make something so mundane as going to the grocery store like kind of scary. Like how cool was that, But anyway, yeah, Poltergeist 2, the other side. We're both big Poltergeist fans.
I'm a big Poltergeist 2 fan, Adam.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Now, is it part 1? No fucking way. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
No,
Poltergeist 2 is no Poltergeist 1. It's not even in the same fucking ballpark.
The introduction of that Reverend character, and he is in this one, is he not?
Oh, yeah. So he was dying of cancer when he did that role. That's why he looked so fucked up.
Don't you think that's weird?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're dying, right? You're dying. So, like, one of the last things you want to do on this earth is portray this really evil, creepy character. I don't know. Like, even if you're not like a religious person, just from like a, I don't know, like a karma aspect, wouldn't that kind of rub you the wrong way?
Yeah. I love the effects in this movie too. I think the effects in this are great. Maybe not some of the visual stuff is a little weird. They didn't have the budget they had for the original Poltergeist.
Reverend Kane was his name.
So yeah, some of the visual stuff isn't on par with part 1, but the makeup effects, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Like Boss Films and Steve Johnson, like some of the stuff they did, fucking great, man. Like the amputee that wears the makeup that Steve did.
Dude. Can you see this?
You showing the amputee?
I'm not trying. Never mind. I was trying to show you the Reverend Kane, but.
Oh. But yeah, man, that amputee and that phlegm coming out of Craig T. Nelson's mouth is just such a great reverse photography fucking thing that they did in that scene.
Right.
I love the little snarl too.
She says she has his voice in my head now. Ugh, yeah, dude, it's so creepy.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he did such a good job in that
when he
movie.
tells them they're all going to die in there.
Yep, in like the cave or whatever.
Oh well, that, and then he tells it to the family. Remember,
Yeah,
he's at the front
he
door.
tells
He's
him that
saying,
too.
"You're all going to die in there." You know that cave stuff, very reminiscent of what went down in the late '70s with the Jim Jones massacre.
Right. Yeah,
Very
I
creepy.
guess that's what they modeled it after,
But
right?
it's absolutely what they modeled it off of.
Um, Next on the list there is Psycho 3. Now, how do you feel about these movies? Psycho 2, Psycho 3.
Man, I can't really speak on Psycho 2. I've seen it 3 times in my life. I haven't seen it in about 20 years.
Psycho 2, you're saying?
No, it's not that it's not good. I would have to watch it again. I was never a fan of any of the Psychos, really. I'd have to watch it again. You know, I'm not dismissing the movie at all.
Have you seen
There's
3?
no.
Dude, you need to. Um,
Well, there's people that say Psycho 2 is better than the original.
I'd never go that route. And I am a fan of Psycho, that's fine. But 3 is the one I would recommend to you personally.
Huh. Two's the one with the Jennifer Tilly, right?
Yes. But 3, I'm going to make an analogy here. 3 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 of the series.
Oh.
Like there's a little bit more
creepy.
there's a little bit more black humor. It's a little bit more like sleazy.
Huh.
And Anthony Perkins directed this one.
Oh, okay.
It's the only one that he did, I think. And
Did they do 3 right after 2?
yeah. Yeah. It's a good movie.
Man, there's people in the group that love 2.
Dude, I do. I think it's great. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I haven't seen it in
You might want to
20 years.
I mean, like it's hard to do a sequel to a Hitchcock film, right? Without getting like some sort of negative reaction, but I think they did a really good job. I don't know.
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, the cat's already out of the bag. We know that has a duality going on in his mind with
But
his
he's
mother.
supposed to be rehabilitized, and that is like the what makes the story great, because the whole time you don't know if it's him or somebody else. You're figuring it's him, but you don't know for sure. It's a mystery. It's very much a Hitchcockian mystery. It's really it's interesting.
Dennis Franz is in part 2 as well.
Yeah, Dennis Franz, right?
And he's good in it.
Rawhead Rex.
Dude, this movie sucks, but god damn is it fun. Adam, I watched this movie. I could put this movie on right now and enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
No, you don't feel that?
Barker movie. Well, Rawhead Rex himself looks like Guar. You know Guar, the band Guar?
Yeah.
Just like styrofoam shit. I don't know. I like it. It's written by Clive Barker, by the way.
Yeah. I remember I was in the supermarket in Indiana, my mom's shopping, and back in the day she would drop me off at the magazine stand in the supermarket, and I would just read Fangoria while my mom shopped. And that's where I learned about all the upcoming movies. And man, I remember that Fangoria with Rawhead Rex on the cover, and it was so fucking gory, and just I'd never seen anything like that, man. With that creature, yeah, you can say whatever you want about it now, but man, when that shit came out, and that's on the cover with all that blood, and you see all the beautiful color photographs inside of him fucking people up. Man, I wanted to see that movie, and when I saw it, I loved it. And yeah,
Right.
it's not a good movie, but again, that movie is so much fun to watch because it's so absurd, and the creature design is whatever, but there's just a lot of gore and it's fun. And then when he takes that kid out of the car, that's a
Yeah.
horrifying fucking scene. There's some really great moments within a lot of the shit in that movie, and that's definitely one of them with the taking of their son.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um,
Be down for
I
a
don't know.
remake.
It's kind of it's one. It's very Pumpkinhead esque in the story.
Yeah,
You know, with the avenging demon and all that stuff. Just made it at a much poorer level. Um,
yeah, I'd be down to see a remake though.
yeah, yeah. That's one of those ones where it's like, that's dying for a remake, but it doesn't have that name recognition, so they won't do it.
Right.
All right. Paul would talk a lot about Sorority House Massacre, but I don't have much to say.
I can't really speak on this one.
Yeah. All right. Spookies. You ever seen this? It's where they like they bring back like Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein, but they're like midgets.
Man, it's bad, dude. There's the Spider Woman scene.
Yeah, I think this is one of those we were talking about, which is sort of kind of like Gremlins ripoffs in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there was these super low budget movies like this coming out around this time, like this and Neon Maniacs and shit like that.
All right, here's your jam.
Oh
TCM2.
man, how this? I feel like this movie has become divisive for some reason within the group.
I
How
might
the fuck can this movie be divisive?
I don't know. It might be because of me. I don't know.
Dude, listen. I totally understand if you were a hardcore fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And 12 years later, you go in the theater for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and you watch this and
Yeah,
you
dude.
walk out going, what the fuck just
It
happened?
would have been a Halloween 3 situation.
Yeah. But I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was like, man, this is violence. It's funny. It's horrifying. Dude, I mean, Dennis Hopper, I mean, I don't think he even remembers doing this film. I think he was so hopped up on cocaine.
He looked like he had a blast doing it.
Oh man, some of the dialogue. I mean, it's just, dude, I love it, man.
Yeah. Um it's a little over the top. It's
On purpose, though.
Yeah, I mean even with the poster, like
Oh,
it
the
took
Breakfast
me
Club
yeah,
poster.
the Breakfast Club poster.
Yeah,
I mean, which is cool. Um
yeah. I think Toby Hooper was a genius for doing this film, the way he did it. It
Here's
was
my
almost
take.
a fuck you. It's almost a fuck you to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the entire backlash surrounding that film.
Yeah. I mean, it does mesh horror and comedy pretty well. Um, it's not just like a straight horror comedy movie or something like that. It's not like Teen Wolf or something. But it's almost a parody of the first movie, and I kind of compare it to like Gremlins and Gremlins 2,
Yeah,
where like the second movie of Gremlins 2, yeah, it was a sequel. The characters had moved on and it was kind of a continuation of the story, but it was also very much a parody of the first movie, and that's kind of how I feel with this. So I kind of feel the way I feel when I watch Gremlins 2, when I watch this, like a little. Not that I'm like the biggest Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, but I mean that first movie, I mean, has some magic to it. It has iconic status for a reason. And when you jump from that to kind of a more comedic touch, I mean, that first movie is, to a lot of people, one of the scariest movies of all time.
Sure.
And because of how realistic it was, like that backwoods horror, which really hadn't been done. You know, it was kind of novel in a way. Deliverance kind of
Yeah, it was Deliverance-esque.
started the idea, but like I think even me and you have both said that Deliverance. I don't consider Deliverance a horror film per se.
No, it's just real fucking
But
good.
the seeds were planted,
Oh yeah.
and I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a direct. And I double checked this before. Like Deliverance came out before TCM, and I think there were some, inspirations drawn there. And but anyway,
Bill Moseley in this film, I think fundamentally changes this film. I mean, his portrayal of Platehead and the backstory of him being a Nam, man, dude, I think is just so awesome.
who was he in the first one?
Well, he's not in part one. He's away in Vietnam.
Oh, is that the thing?
Yeah, he talks about it in part two.
Okay.
So he's a Nam in part one. That's why we don't see him.
That's
And then the brother that got ran over at the end of part one, the one that's always cutting himself, he is the dead body that Leatherface has strapped to him when he's chainsawing the frat boy's car.
Was that this guy? Who's this?
Yeah, that's the brother that gets ran over at the end of one. That's his dead body.
Guy? What a crazy franchise.
Oh yeah, it's great, man. I mean, the whole incoming mail scene with Bill Moseley and the hammer. I mean, it's so violent. There's so much like hyper violence in that movie, surrounded by these like moments of humor, and it's unsettling because like you don't want to laugh at violence like that, but you find yourself in moments laughing at hyper violence, and I think that's what upsets people is they're cracking a smile on something that they shouldn't be laughing at. But Toby Hooper is able to trick them almost with the writing and what he was able to do with this film. That's why that movie's so fucking great to me. He tricks you into smiling and laughing at hyper violence.
So out of 1 and 2, which is your favorite?
Oh, I like 2.
Over 1?
Oh, I like 2 over 1. If I'm talking about all-time greats, I'm putting Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 just for what it did. You know, it was part of the Grindhouse era. You know, it inspired a lot. There was a lot that came after it because of it. But if I'm talking a personal favorite, I'm watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 10 out of 10 fucking times over part 1.
Nice.
I can't quote Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1. I can spend an entire fucking day quoting Texas Chainsaw Massacre part 2.
I can see that.
And if I can quote a movie like that, dude, yeah, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, there's a reason it's so memorable, you know.
Yeah. Again, your mind is tricked into laughing at violence, like, and not just any like violence, like just insane like violence.
Well, it's almost like making fun of how violent the first movie was.
Yeah.
Even
here we
though
go.
It really
another film that our friends from across the ocean fucking love, and they are so right about this. This movie might be one of the most underrated films of the 1980s. I said it. Trick or Treat is one of the most underrated horror films of the 1980s. It does not get the love it should.
Ripe for a remake?
Oh, I think so, yes. Yeah, I think you could do a real awesome remake on this for sure.
I think it's just well known enough.
You could go a step too. Adam, you could incorporate the whole internet aspect on a remake with this. It could be fucking good, man.
Yeah.
This is a great movie. Sammy Kerr is a badass.
Dude, I know you love Sammy Kerr.
Oh, I love Sammy Kerr, man. You know, I bought this on vinyl, and I was a little kid and I was an idiot, and I tried playing the vinyl backwards, and I ruined my vinyl.
Oh, you thought it was
and
the gate,
and I was really disappointed.
Use some satanic shit for you.
Because I was like, oh man, maybe it's got something like in the movie, and I'm like, oh, you fool, it doesn't.
Dude.
It's got a great soundtrack too, man. The soundtrack's by Fast Away.
The floor is yours on this one.
It's probably, aside from the Transformers, the movie soundtrack, one of the best. I think one of the best soundtracks to movies of the 1980s.
Right. Oh, the De Laurentiis group did this.
What's that?
It was produced by was it Dino De Laurentiis? Did he do this?
Did he produce this?
De Laurentiis Entertainment.
All right. See, it doesn't have that Dino De Laurentiis vibe, though.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't.
Maybe if it did, I definitely wouldn't like it as much.
All right, I'm gonna bring up Troll.
Oh man, what a great movie!
Yeah, and
by the way, I'm not being facetious. I think Troll's a great movie.
This is one of those ones where, like, it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like, even just seeing the VHS tape, because that's not what it was. It was him holding a ball.
Yeah.
That had like a star on it.
Yeah. I think Troll's on the same level as Critters, that next tier right below Gremlins.
There was just something so scary about this to me. I don't know what it was.
Stop motion creature effects in this, dude.
And the troll itself was just very creepy.
Remember when that actor, the little person, he turns into that weird like troll thing?
Yeah.
It's not even a troll, it's like a weird like creature.
Yeah, at the end, like everything is being enveloped by like vegetation and it's turning into like the troll world.
Yeah.
And all the people that were in it previously are turning into like Elaine from Seinfeld is in this.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and she turns into like something.
You got that hand puppet mushroom that talks to the old lady.
Right. And
Hardy hardy, Harry.
But like, what a freaky movie.
Yeah.
I remember.
Fun though, man. You know what? Can I retract good, because I haven't seen it in a really long time? And if somebody like hears me say that this movie's really good and they watch it, they're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's good. I think it's okay.
I take it back, Adam.
All right, we allow one mulligan.
I got all excited because I haven't seen Troll in a long time. So I see you put it up for the first time, and I look at it, and I'm like, all those memories of when I saw it for the first time come rushing back.
Yeah, let's see. So that's Troll. We're in 86, right? Troll.
Hey, isn't the actress in Troll the older lady? Isn't that the girl from Clash of the Titans?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is it. Do you remember this poster over here? Can you see?
Oh yeah, that's the one.
That's I don't know what I did.
That's great, man. I love that look.
Right.
Cool.
But anyway, like look at this. Like that was look at this guy.
Yeah. I love the fact that he's turning the entire apartment complex into that troll world.
Like that's a great troll. Yeah, that's awesome.
Not to digress, but dude, did you see that badass CGI troll from that Norwegian troll film called
Yeah,
Troll?
yeah, that's awesome. That is
God
really
damn it.
awesome.
Great design.
All right.
If we ever get sponsors, like if we ever blow up, I want 5 Hour Energy to sponsor us.
So what you're
Because
on right now?
5 Hour Energy is the energy of champions.
What time you? You're 3 hours behind me, so you're
It's 7:56, and I
you're
feel,
probably up. You were probably up at the crack of dawn, huh?
yeah, I was working on the Bill Mosley head.
Now, would you say that the 80s were the absolute glory days of vampire movies?
Well, there were a lot of good ones, man.
Well, this one that we're about to talk about, Vamp.
So, Poor Man's Fright Night. I've always thought of Vamp as a poor man's Fright Night. And that's not saying anything bad about Vamp. If anything, if I'm saying Vamp in the same sentence as Fright Night, that's a good thing because Fright
Yeah,
Night's probably one of the greatest
I mean,
vampire films of all time.
a poor man's Fright Night made in this era
Yeah,
is it would smoke any vampire movies made today. Like it was
yeah.
still a really effective vampire movie, I thought.
It's
And
fun.
what is it about strip clubs and vampires that is just
I know. And
like a
Grace
natural
Jones, man.
combination?
Grace Jones was so like sexy back then. When she did this film. And
Right.
I enjoy it. I think the makeups are great. This is early version. Honestly, I've talked to Greg Canham about this film, and what you see in this film is the precursor to what he did for the Lost Boys. So he actually, when he got the Lost Boys, he was showing them this film and what he did for this film. So you see makeups in this film that really look and remind you of the Lost Boys, and that's exactly what happened. He just took what he did for this and he just refined it and made it a little bit better for the Lost Boys. And it
Agreed.
shows, man. I mean, there's a couple scenes when you're looking and you're like, "Fuck, man, that looks like one of the Lost Boys."
Right.
Because it's him doing his technique on the sculpt, and it's great, man. It's fun. It's creepy. I don't think the writing's as witty. I think one of the things that definitely doesn't make it as good as Fright Night is I don't think the writing necessarily is good. It doesn't hit like Fright Night does.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I mean, it's not of the same level as like the other movies that get talked about, which is always Fright Night, Lost Boys, Near Dark. It's not on that level at all. But
Grace Jones vamps out for the first time on top of that guy. That is a fucking crazy scene.
right.
It's the best scene in the movie.
Yep, for sure. Anything else we want to talk? Witchboard, dude. I know there are like 8 or there's like a lot of Witchboard movies.
God,
I
was
don't think I've
Witchboard
seen any of
86?
them. Yeah,
Fuck, man.
I haven't seen any of them. Have
Is
you?
this the one with Tawny Katane?
Tawny Contained, yes.
Fuck, man. I pulled that out of my ass.
I wish I had seen them.
Man, she was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Fucking Witchboard. These movies. Eh.
We're in 87, my friend.
Oh, shit. Did you want to double back to some of those ones that Paul would have insight on before we go to 87?
I would, but he's not here.
So should we talk about them? Friday Part 6 and From
I guess
Beyond?
we should.
I mean, they're two big ones.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we have to. Friday Part 6.
What's your thoughts on this one? I'm conflicted.
I'm not I'm not a huge Friday the 13th person.
I'm
So,
not.
um it's not like holy grail type material for me. I like this one out of out of the entire franchise. I think this is pretty good. I mean, it's the first one where he's the undead Jason, which I think is the undead Jason with the hockey mask is the one enduring iconic image from this franchise that I think is really stood the test of time. Which is funny because we're at it took until the sixth movie for that image even to come to fruition. Prior to that, it was his mom. We had Baghead Jason. We had Living Jason with the hockey mask. We didn't even get Undead Jason until the sixth movie,
Right?
and that's kind of crazy, Because I mean, don't you think most people today, when they think of Jason, that's what they think of?
Oh, I totally agree. I think this film changed the image of Jason Voorhees.
Yep. And it took
He
him in
he, he jumped the shark on this one.
it's like he jumped the shark, but the shark jumped into like another wormhole and it came out with another reality and like it fucking works.
Yeah.
Like it works. It turns the series into something it wasn't before.
So you know how we started getting like comedic aspects. There was a very little amount of that in
Look at
one and
this.
two. I
There
think
was no supernatural aspect.
no, but as far as comedy though, so
Yeah.
in part three we started to see a little bit more comedy. We started to see a little bit more comedy in four, a little bit more in five. When this came around, it was right there smack dab in the middle of 85, 86, and 87. So we're, 86 obviously. And those 3 years, I think we got the most amount of the horror slash comedy films of the 1980s. I think those 3 years, there was an overabundance of that. And even though I feel it worked with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, even though I feel it worked with Fright Night, even though I feel it worked with Return of the Living Dead, I don't feel it worked with this. I don't like the comedy in this. I love the fact that Jason is zombie Jason. I love the whole introduction. I love what's the actor that played
Tommy.
in this? Tom.
The same guy from Return of the Living
Yeah,
Dead, right?
he's great, but I don't. He's not as good in this as he is in Return of the Living Dead. I don't think the directing is there, and I don't think the
Matthews.
yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that directed this, he's no Dan O'Bannon, is what I'm trying to say. And
Right.
Dan O'Bannon, I think, is going to get the very best out of you as an actor. And I
Right.
don't think the actors, I don't think they got the very best out of these actors in this film, is what I'm trying to say. It's hokey as fuck, man. And I don't think it'll work.
I
I
get
think
it.
the whole paintball fight in the forest, Adam, I think it's awful, man. I can't stand
Yeah.
the fucking scene. I can't fucking stand it. I know
I can
Paul would
see
be
that.
sitting there fighting me tooth and nail about it. I understand, man. I just don't like it.
Right. What's another one we skipped on here? Let's see. How about From Beyond? Do you like that movie?
I fucking love it, man.
Talk about
Not
that
as
real
good as
quick.
Reanimator, but man, is it good.
Yeah.
So
Can you talk
crazy,
about it
too,
for
right?
15 seconds by yourself?
Yeah, of
I'll
course.
be right back.
Barbara Crampton. Oh my God. She's amazing in this film. I think Barbara Crampton is probably my favorite final girl or scream queen from the 80s. I just, man, this movie and what she does in this movie is fucking glorious. And then the special effects are really good. I think the whole intro with the visual effects with the other dimension, I think it's really interesting. Really cool makeup effects. The movie just, I don't know, it's gory, it's weird, it's got a sci-fi bend to it. It's good. It's real good. But it's no Reanimator. But it's definitely probably Stuart Gordon's second best film. Jeffrey Combs is really, really good in it.
So I went to there's a Living Dead weekend con here in Pittsburgh, and Ken Faree was in town, who was in this movie, and obviously Dawn of the Dead and lots of other movies. And he was up on stage, and they had a Q&A session, and everybody was asking him questions about like Dawn of the Dead, obviously. So I thought I would jump in and just ask him a question about this movie, because I thought I'd change it up. Maybe he'd like to answer like a question that he hadn't already been asked 100 times that day. So I brought up this movie. He got so mad. He was up on stage. He stood up, grabbed the microphone, and he was like, I told them before I came out here that I was not going to answer questions about From Beyond. And I was just like, dude, I had no idea. And
Why?
I was like, can you talk about your relationship with Jeffrey Combs in this movie? And he was like, no, I won't. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that movie. It was a bad experience. And I'll never talk about that movie ever again.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. I'm just like, okay, man, I'm sorry.
Does anybody have the actual story on what went down?
No, I've been trying to find out ever since. I can't find out a goddamn thing.
Wow.
But he wouldn't answer any questions. So, yeah.
Boy, if I ever get to talk to Barbara Crampton or ask her a question, I'm going to ask her that.
You should. Yeah, somebody needs to get
when you were gone for those seconds, I was talking about my love for Barbara Crampton.
Oh, dude, we love. Yeah, Barbara Crampton is.
Not just her in this movie.
Yeah, when she's wearing that outfit at the end.
Yeah. Insane.
They didn't pay her enough for that.
Yeah. What's insane is the fact that she is still like so insanely beautiful. Like when they did the Q&A for Killbot. I mean,
she was in that movie You're Next.
Is she?
Remember that one? It was she was the like the grandmother.
Oh, okay.
But You're Next. And I kept looking at this lady like, you're the grandmother? You're so insanely attractive. How did you get cast as the grandmother? I mean, it didn't dawn on me until after I saw the movie that she was Barbara Crampton. I'm just like, she stuck out like a sore thumb.
But I love From Beyond.
Yeah.
I think visually it's really interesting. I think we see things from that other dimension that hadn't really been done before. It was real cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool idea. Another Lovecraft movie. Like Stuart Gordon did all these Lovecraft films. He's like the only one that really latched on to like make like a bunch of those, Well,
dude, someday, man, somebody's going to do the Call of Cthulhu, and it's going to be like one of the great fucking films of all time. If you get a budget and you get the right director and you do that story, I don't know if you've ever read that story. I have.
Yeah. Del Toro was reputed to do that for a while now. And
he's the wrong guy to do that.
At some point. And
the wrong guy.
You think Del Toro's the wrong person?
Yeah, but he always throws like levels of comedy, whether it's on a lower level.
Yeah, dude, he's kind of like the Spanish Tim Burton.
Yeah, I don't want that in a Call of. There is no Call of Cthulhu.
John Carpenter in his prime. John Carpenter in his prime is the person to tackle this, right?
Yeah, he would have done it great. Although maybe not. Carpenter, what makes Carpenter so good is he's able to take these intimate, smaller stories that have these world implications, but he's still focused in the movie on this small story that has these these big implications. With a movie or with a story like The Call of Cthulhu, you have to show those implications, man. It can't just be a small story. I think it's a big story.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, with the druids trying to resurrect, Cthulhu, and oh man. Anyways, I digress.
No, you're good, man. You're absolutely good.
So we go into 87.
I think we are.
Another great year, man. I love 87.
I lost our reference. Hold on one second.
Hey, real quick, before we go start talking about 87, what's your favorite film from 86?
From 86? Let's see.
The Fly?
I mean, The Fly. Yeah. Yeah, what's yours?
I'd probably say The Fly.
There we go. All right, 87. So here we go. All right, so I don't know anything about this movie, so I'm going to move on. Paul, you had a chance. It's a Fulci movie. It's Lucio Fulci. Enigma
Oh,
or A Enigma.
I just know a couple of Fulci's films. This isn't one of them.
Yeah.
Sorry
Angel
to all
Heart.
the Italian fans. Sorry.
Dude, how about Angel Heart?
I love it.
Yeah, dude. Like it's right on the cusp. I would understand if somebody didn't want to call this a horror movie, but it's horror enough for me.
I think it could totally. I mean, yeah. What do you think about De Niro's Devil? One of the best portrayals, the best, top
It's
five.
pretty great. It's a little on the nose with like the long fingernails and
He's got that suave factor.
yeah, and how he eats the egg. It's that everyone always thinks about that egg eating scene.
Right.
Where I guess he's like eating the guy's soul.
I dig it, man.
Yeah, I do too.
I like him. I like his portrayal a lot.
Like then Lisa Bonet from the Cosby Show. She had that like lurid sex scene, and like they basically kicked her off the show. Do you remember that?
Dude, this movie was the shit, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a good movie. Mickey Rourke before he fucked his face all up. Good flick. Good flick. All right. Oh, Bad Taste.
This movie's, I don't know, man. I don't like early Peter Jackson. I mean, I like it for what it is, but is it something you're going to watch more than once or twice? I watched this movie once and I was good.
Yeah, me too. There's a bunch of skipping here, but I mean, Blood Diner. I mean, Blood Diner had that iconic VHS cover with this poster.
Yeah, I had the poster. I got it from my local VHS store.
But that's like the best thing about the movie, isn't it?
Agreed. even the vagina creature at the end kind of fails to live up to expectations.
Right.
People that don't know that movie, they hear me say vagina creature, they're looking for it. Right?
Here's a heavy hitter. Creepshow 2.
Yeah, man, it's good. I'm not gonna say real good, but it's good. I know there's people that fucking love this a lot, and don't get me wrong, I get it, but I don't feel it's on the same level as Creepshow.
I
Now,
agree to an extent.
well, you like the raft. That's your favorite segment out of all the creep shows, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the raft is like one of the best segments, like in anthologies, like in general. Um, I think it's better than some of the. I think the raft is better than some of the segments in the first creep show. Some, not all. Um,
The only one it might be as good at might be Lonesome Death of Jordy Barrow.
hmm
I think it might be on par with that.
I don't like the cockroach one.
Oh, you don't like the E.G. Marshall one?
No,
Okay.
and I know you do.
I love the E.G. Marshall
I don't
one.
like that one.
It's got such a was it EC Comics? It's got such a vibe like that, man. It just works.
And I guess just the critique in general. I thought the ghosts in uh Father's Day and the Ted Danson one, they were a little too similar.
Oh, okay.
Just I don't know. It just brought something. It was something different. It brought something different to the table. The raft. Um, and you love the animation
I
wraparound.
love the animation. If there's one thing that's better with Creepshow 2, I love the animation.
Yeah.
I love how it ties everything together. You know, they were gonna do a Creepshow sequel, and it was gonna be an animated only film before the TV show started doing animation. And I would have loved to have seen that.
Nice.
I would love to see an animated Creepshow movie in the theater.
And then Tales from the Dark Side was essentially uh, Creepshow 3. There is an official Creepshow 3. Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah, it's unwatchable.
Yeah, unwatchable. But
Yeah,
Tales of the Dark Side is pretty awesome.
Tales from the Dark Side's good.
The movie.
Yeah, I like the whole Debbie Harry as the witch.
Yeah, me too.
That's a hot witch.
Mm-hmm. Evil Dead 2.
Classic. Amazing.
Better than the first, right?
Nah. No, it's not. It's a remake, by the way. It's not a sequel. It's a fucking remake.
It's kind of both.
Yeah, that's what somebody was saying in the group when we were talking about it last week. I don't feel so. I don't feel it's kind of both. I feel
Well,
it's definitely a
I
remake.
think technically, I'm not an Evil Dead purist, but I think technically,
I mean, they retell the origin story of Ash. It's a remake.
in the first 15 minutes, and he's still
Yeah,
left there because he was left there at the beginning of the last movie. And
right.
then more people come to the cabin, and he's still there.
And the reason they did that, the reason Sam Raimi did that is he couldn't get a hold of all the people from the original to get them to sign off rights or something to use
So
clips
they
from
originally
part one
wanted this
into
movie to
part
be a
two.
straight remake.
I think yeah, that's what turns that into a remake. What's up? Hi. We'll come in.
Yeah, come on in, man.
Yeah.
Who's in?
That's what makes it a remake in my eyes because he wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to get the right and whatnot to use clips from part one. So he's like, fuck it, I'll make it very similar and I'll just remake it. So
I get it.
I feel it's a complete remake.
I think in spirit it is. I think there is like story wise. I think there is something to be said for it to be a different movie. Just Ash is still there. He's left over. New characters come in, and at the end, it's a completely different ending where he's taken to a different time. And
I mean, we even get Henrietta in the basement. You know, that wasn't anything from
yeah,
part
yeah,
one.
you're right. Yeah, but is she a Henrietta again? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So my animation, one of my teachers in college was part of the company
Dude,
that did the
I
cell
can't believe
animation
this
for
shit.
the animation for Creepshow 2, and then his company also worked on stop motion animation for Evil Dead 2. So he was a real talented guy. Rick Catazone is his name. So shout out to him.
In the same year, you can see Evil Dead 2. You could see the gate in the theaters. Did these people understand what they had at the time?
I don't think they did, man. And I gotta tell me a movie from the '80s that had better stop motion than those minion demons from the gate. And I'll even go a step further. I'll put those minion demons from the gate and then that king minion demon. I'll put that into the category of like some of the best Ray Harryhausen shit I've seen.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Somebody come at me and say that's not, because man, that stuff is next level shit.
It's next level. Yep.
It's
Yep.
amazing.
Like, I can't believe in the same year you could have saw those two movies. And at that point, you probably thought horror is always going to be like this. It's always going to be awesome. You had no idea, like
Yeah, I
the
saw this in the theater,
downfall.
man. When it came out, I saw it in the theater and I didn't really know
The
much
gate,
about it. Oh yeah, fucking
and you
blew me
loved it.
away.
You loved it.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it, man. And I was listening. Yeah, I was real little, but I was already listening to heavy metal. So the whole heavy metal aspect of it, I
Dude, wasn't that
bought it
awesome? Because
line and sinker.
you had always heard rumors about that, about spinning the record. It was
Oh
never
yeah.
true. It was never true.
Oh, it was always all bullshit. But I was a little kid, and I was just into that taboo aspect of listening to something that could be associated with the devil.
Right. Yeah. Something that you weren't supposed to be listening to. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Great movie. Great movie.
fucking fun, man.
Um, I've seen one on here that I want to talk about a lot, but I guess we need to put goalies too. I mean, goalies two needs to come out.
Um,
Oh, is this goalies or goalies two?
I think it's
Yeah,
part two.
yeah, it's part two.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. There's new Ghoulies. They bring back some of the popular ones from part one.
I always thought of these movies as so much better than they actually are. Most of them don't have a lot of goalies in them. Like, there's
Yeah,
not a whole lot of
John.
goalies.
I haven't really brought his name up, but John Beekler, the effects artist from the '70s and '80s, he was really instrumental in a lot of these little creature movies. He didn't work on the Gremlins films, but he worked on uh, on the Ghoulies film and some other stuff. And the Ghoulies were, yeah, they were cool. They were all right. They
Right.
were low budget Gremlins.
They were neat looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the variation of them.
Yeah. That was cool. Yeah, that's kind of what was missing from like Gremlins and Critters, because they all looked exactly the same. And these ones had like different variations. So that was kind of neat. Um oh shit. I was gonna go to the hidden, but Jesus. Hellraiser.
Oh yeah, man,
Dude, these all came out the same year.
crazy, right?
I think
So crazy.
87 is it for me. I think you have said 85 is your best year. Well, we'll have
85,
to put,
I think, the best year. Yeah,
we're gonna have to put this back to
87 is a
back.
contender.
Dude, 87 is a contender.
By the way, 5 Hour Energy for
Way to
camping.
go. Please sponsor us.
I love Hellraiser, man.
Yeah.
But do
Now,
I think it's one of the greats of all time? I'm not going to go that far.
no.
I know there's a lot of people that will. I think the movie is painfully slow and shows like some of the worst aspects of Clive Barker, the director.
I think two
Clive
is
Barker,
better
the
than one.
director, is not Clive Barker, the writer.
Right, for sure.
And I think you have to take that into account when you're watching a movie directed by Clive. And obviously, I'm not taking anything away from him. I mean, it's Clive fucking Barker. You know, who the fuck am I?
Right.
But I just don't look at him as a fully realized director. I feel like he was an experiment, kind of, and like a
No,
lot of stuff
this
just
was
don't take work.
straight out the cut, man. It was the first time you ever tried anything like
Yeah.
this, you know.
But man, there's stuff in this, and it's the ideas behind it that just this movie overcomes his bad directing skills, and the fact that this movie overcomes that, I think, is even more of an achievement that makes this movie just on a different level. I just wouldn't put it as one of the great
I mean,
all
I
time.
think if he had kept at it, he could have been something.
Maybe, but a lot of people think Hellraiser 2 is better than Hellraiser, and he didn't direct Hellraiser
I
2.
think I'm in that camp. Do you think I'm nuts?
No, I don't think you're nuts. I think
I
Hellraiser though has I think Hellraiser has one of the greatest special effects ever.
maybe to your point, I think it's a better directed movie. I think it's just a
Yeah,
better put together film.
I think Hellraiser has one of the greatest special effects ever put on film.
Yeah,
I think the resurrection of Frank, the reverse photography, and what they do in that scene. Fuck, Adam. I mean, probably the only other scene that I would say reverse photography wise that matches that is probably Christine coming back after she's demolished. But the resurrection of Frank, you know, from blood splatter into like skin and sinews and tendons and bone is fucking spectacular, man.
agreed.
The best scene in the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, yeah, I dig it. Like I said,
It's
yeah,
painful. He's in pain.
yep.
Like his scream he lets out, it's so unnerving.
I, I the Hellraisers, the movies to me as a kid were the ones that were the most unsettling because it was just about just what happened, like without like any subtext. To me, it was like, all right, what happens to you when you go to hell? Like these beings just want to torture the shit out of you, you know?
Yeah.
Um, The Hidden. Have you seen this,
I love The Hidden.
dude?
Kyle MacLachlan, right?
Yes, I have a theory about this movie. It came out in a flooded year when every other week a classic was coming out, and it got bogged. It just got pushed down because there were so many classic movies coming out. I mean, and this is just horror. We're not even talking about action movies. Like,
This movie's definitely action horror, right?
yes, yes, science fiction, action horror. I would say.
And it's
Um,
got the guy from To Live and Die in LA in it,
but
right?
it's definitely horror,
Yeah.
and it's definitely like fucking awesome.
It's great. I think it's a really great representation of that era too. You know, it's got a little bit of Lethal Weapon meets, you know, like an alien takeover story. It's great.
I think on a lesser year, if it come out in a lesser year, it would have been more well known. I
You know, it's
think
got
there was
gun
just so
violence.
many awesome movies coming out,
Yeah.
and it's
God,
not
there was
on the
there
same
was so much.
tier. It's a tier or so lower, but you know, it's that sci-fi. You know, I could watch that with like a RoboCop, or I could watch that with like an Aliens, doing like a double feature. And like Paul likes to say, and he's not here, and he's totally right. It's basically a retelling of the thing. If the thing made you awesome, like the
Yeah.
thing doesn't just replicate you. He takes you over, and then like makes you want to like,
Well, it wants to experience your life.
yeah. But then the aliens just treat Earth as like an entertainment center. Like they don't give a shit about any of the life on Earth. They're only here to like have fun.
Yeah.
And there's something about that that I really like. Like they're just here to like have a good time, and they don't give a shit. Like they'll take your car. If you get in their way, they'll kill you. You
Adam,
know.
this would be a really good movie to remake.
Yes, it's a great. It would have been a great movie to remake. Absolutely. No, it's a really good movie. Um,
There was a NBC show that ripped off the idea for The Hidden, and it went up for a few seasons. I think in '90 or '91, if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember the name of it, but very similar.
yeah, you can't replicate that craziness though.
No, that's a hard R movie too, by the way.
It's hard R,
Yeah,
and it's
there's
like
sex, violence, drug
sex,
use, all kinds of
violence. Yeah, yeah,
titties,
a lot of titties,
a lot of
a lot of
titties.
swearing, a lot of drug use. I mean, it's your quintessential '80s movie.
Yeah.
It really is. It's great. Um, Howling 3. Which one is the
Oh, the marsupial one.
marsupials, dude?
Yeah, dude.
You told me off camera that this is your favorite horror movie of all time.
My ass. That cover is the best thing about this fucking movie.
Yeah,
That's all I got to say about this movie.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's really all I got to say.
Oh, it's so interesting, and I'm sure there's an answer. But why did they go this route with the sequels?
I think just you had incompetence with the right holders to this franchise, man. They didn't know what the fuck they wanted. I mean, they knew what they had with the original, and then they went off the fucking deep end with 2, and they wanted to try to get back to some kind of resemblance of 1, but then they ended up with this one.
Like 2 had
I think
Christopher
2,
Lee in it.
3. I think they were all shot overseas.
Yeah.
I think 2, 3, and 4, and maybe even 5 were all shot overseas.
It just boggles my mind because the Howling is thought of it so highly.
Yeah.
And I'm quite certain that it made a profit.
I don't fucking know how.
Like the first movie. The first movie made a profit. So
Dude,
why do all the sequels suck?
I think you could do a direct sequel to The Howling.
Why didn't anybody do Howling 2, Howling 3, Howling 4? Is it just because it's not a slasher film and it costs too much money to do the practical effects, and
they
we'd
needed
rather
to pump
just
these
go the
movies up to
easy
keep it
route?
right.
Or what was the problem here?
There's a lot of missed opportunities.
Yeah. I'm just glad that like American Werewolf doesn't have. I mean, there's an American Werewolf in Paris, which is atrocious. But
I don't know. I don't know what I'm about to say. I don't know if this says anything about the whole American Werewolf in London versus The Howling. Like, who's the best? Who's 1, who's 2? I mean, we've had dozens of conversations about it.
It's one of my favorite conversations to have.
Well, so pick a day with me and you'll get a different answer. But more times than not, I'll probably go with The Howling. But yet, when I think about films that could be remade, I don't feel you can remake American Werewolf in London. I feel you can actually remake The Howling and make it better.
I agree.
But
and
see,
that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why I say
my own argument in the head, Adam?
Yes. I mean, that's part of the reason why I say American Werewolf is number 1. But anyway, we have to go into that. But like, no, like I would actually. I mean, I don't know if it's sacrilegious or not. I'd actually like to see the original Howling remade. Like,
yeah,
I'd be okay with it.
Or a sequel. You could do a direct sequel.
Like, you can say the movie is iconic, but like, are any of the characters?
Like, what if you have like a news anchor go back out to where that cabin was out in the woods, like all these decades later, and there's like remnants and pockets of what once was still fucking there.
Yeah, you can do like a sequel reboot type of a thing, but not a movie with werewolves that have pouches and are part kangaroo. Because who the fuck thought of that,
Fucking awful, man.
dude? What is up with that?
Oh,
Marsupials, the marsupials. All right, that's Alive 3. No,
I hate these
I'll just
movies.
you hate all
I
of them.
hate them. I don't like them. I don't like the noise those babies make.
You're
Always have always
terrified of babies. That's why, right?
freaked me the fuck out, man. The
Because you're so
concept's
scared of
weird to
babies.
me. And then in this one, they got like 4 foot size It's Alive babies running around the fucking island.
Well, the problem I have with this movie, it's not even with the story. Although the story is terrible. The grown up It's Alive babies look just like regular babies, but grown up.
Yeah,
Like it's here. Let me see if I can show an example.
you got a fucking still image.
Let me find it.
They're so fucked up looking, man.
Like humans, like we have babies. When they turn into adults, they don't just look like bigger versions of babies. Like, some shit happens.
Yeah,
Uh yeah, look at this. Do you see this?
yeah.
Oh, look at this.
That's weird, man.
Dude, it's just like one of the babies that's big.
Yeah,
They're just big.
but they're still making that weird fucking baby noise that they make.
Yeah, and it still just looks like a big baby.
Like I physically cannot watch these movies, and one of the main reasons is that god awful sound the baby makes.
Yeah. I don't know. I dig Larry Cohen. He made some trash movies, but like I
Which
dig him.
Cohen was involved in Reign of Fire?
He was?
No, which one? The one of the Cohen. Didn't one of the Cohens direct that one?
Wasn't
Anyway,
him.
I digress.
Look. Rain of Fire, 2002, which is the best dragon movie ever made.
Oh, I totally agree.
Was directed by Rob Bowman.
Rob Cohen?
Bowman with a
Oh,
B.
Bowman. Okay.
All right. Let's see here. You put the 2, the gate. What a year. What just what a year.
And there's so many heavy hitters. I'm just waiting for which one you're gonna go with.
I'm gonna go with the fucking heaviest hitter of all. Dude, look.
I mean, if you're saying the heaviest hitter of all, I know which one. Should I just guess before you go with it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lost Boys.
Dude, this might be my favorite movie of all time.
Priest, brother.
Dude, like I'm sorry. Like I get it. It's not the most nuanced. It doesn't have the effects of the thing. I saw this at the absolute perfect time in my life. And I thought this movie was cool as shit. And like, people that compare this to like Twilight and shit like that, first of all, go fuck yourself. All right?
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No.
Have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, they're just as pretty as, blah blah." But that's the point. Like that's the exterior. And first of all, they look badass. And they're like, well, they look like the Poison. Yeah, they do look like Poison. Like, like the 80's band. That's the fucking point. They look awesome. Like they look like the cool kids, the cool renegade kids that you want to
These
be
are the
friends
Lost
with.
Boys, almost a version of what we have in Peter Pan. But these are the vampire versions of
Right.
the Lost Boys.
I mean, if they looked like nerds, would you want to be friends with them?
Right.
Like, they were cool. They were cool. They were cool looking. They were good looking, so that people wanted to be friends with them, so they could
Dude,
like.
I had long hair when I was a kid, and I was listening to heavy metal and hard rock. So everything about their look, I was like, fuck yeah. And I was only 10 years old.
Right. Like, I just don't get it. I feel like people that say that haven't even watched the movie. Like, the movie's scary too.
Yeah.
Like, there's the whole like massacre on the beach when they're
One of
like
the best parts of,
attacking like the surf Nazis or whatever they
yeah.
are, and they're like biting them through the skulls.
Yeah. Opening their fucking skulls up, man.
And like, okay, like say what you will about what they look like in human form. When they're in vampire form, the effects on the
Yeah.
prosthetics on their face is like magnificent. They look like demons. There's like a reptilian aspect to them. I can't even quantify it with like actual words. They look fantastic.
It's almost a perfect film. The only thing that I wish would be different is Max's final vampire makeup. It's a little goofy,
They made
uh,
him a little bit goofy because, yeah,
especially if you see the Steve Johnson version, man. The Steve Johnson version is,
he should have been the scariest one.
yeah, man. He should have been real evil looking. And there's
And
a
they,
bit
yeah,
of
he
to it.
looked real goofy.
I think it might be the bushy eyebrows, but it's still. I mean, even with that makeup, I still love the scene. I love the Max character.
Yeah,
Fuck, man. I saw it in the theater when I was 10 years old, and then I saw it again, and I saw it with an older cousin.
dude, the fucking concepts. There were things that I always thought of. Like if they turned me into a vampire.
Yeah,
Oh,
you wanted to be in the movie.
well, I always thought to myself, if anybody turned me into a vampire, I would still be good.
Yeah.
Now I would still try to like fight the bad ones, and like they did this in the fucking movie. Like
Corey Haim
it was the
Corey Feldman
perfect
are great.
movie. Yeah, the Feldmans are great. I mean,
Jason
Sutherland,
Patric.
Kiefer Sutherland is David.
Oh, they're all just
I mean, what a cool, you know, top 5 vampire for me. I don't know.
absolutely.
So, there are few movies that I love more than this one.
Another one of those movies too with a fucking rocking soundtrack, man.
Dude, the fucking soundtrack.
Yeah.
And dude, music I've learned this about myself as I get older. Music is so important to me. Music and film is so important to me. Um, like soundtrack matters.
Seeing this in the theater as a 10-year-old kid and having that soundtrack just banging in that theater, just it changes you, man.
Dude, goosebumps.
It fucking changes you.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that.
Yeah.
10 years old being in that theater
Yeah, man.
with, you know,
It
cry
just
little
in a
sister.
movie like that, as a kid in that age in the theater, it's fundamental. That's why I try to take my kids to as many movies as possible in the theater, man. Because one of these movies is going to fundamentally change them.
Yep. No, dude, they're already cool people from the get go because you're the dad. Like you already,
Try to show them
dude,
everything.
you did your due diligence. You're good. But
Try to show
like
them everything.
people say shit about Twilight. Twilight, what's it got? Taylor Swift and shit.
Yeah,
It
dude.
doesn't got fucking saxophone man covered
No.
in Vaseline
Yeah.
and a fucking chain
Yeah.
chastity belt going to town on the boardwalk. I still believe,
Oh,
motherfucker. Right?
I fucking love that scene.
Yeah, dude, it's great. All right. Lost Boys is fantastic. What's your favorite
What
vampire movie?
What's better, Adam? That or Fright Night?
We were talking just not that long ago about how we change
I
our
guess
opinions
that's
all
a
the
different take
time.
and a different answer.
There are times where I really like the old school feel of Fright Night. Um, and how it kind of like pays homage to like the Hammer Draculas and even Universal to a certain extent. But if I'm being honest, which I rarely am, the lot the Lost Boys is probably one of my favorite movies ever made. So I don't say that a lot because people shit on it, and but I just I don't remember. It had such a profound effect on me when I was a kid. I, I just love this one. I just
I
love it.
think what makes the Lost Boys better, and I think I'm with you on this. I think what makes the Lost Boys better is obviously they had a bigger budget. I think the cinematography in the Lost Boys is
See,
fucking epic.
yes, it is. Like they don't have the creature effects though, like from Fright Night, and I think that's like the one thing that's missing. Like they don't turn into anything. They don't turn into wolves and that kind of thing. So you're kind of missing that part of the special effects, um, but that's okay because there's multiple vampires, and the effects of just the vampire work themselves are very impressive. Just the facial prosthetics
Oh, yeah,
for the actual vampires are great, and they don't
but
have
I
to turn into anything.
mean, aside from special makeup effects, which is obviously really important to me when I'm watching a movie, another thing that's just as important, or damn near definitely a close second, is cinematography.
Right.
And I think the cinematography in the Lost Boys, especially the flying scene, is so fucking beautifully done. It is so goddamn epic, man. When
You don't you don't even see them,
you're with them, and you're flying through the clouds, and then
but you don't
you
you
never
don't
see
see
them really,
them.
and then you fly into the cave when they're gonna go to. I mean, it's just
You just
so
hear that
good.
noise,
Yeah,
but they communicated that perfectly. That's
yeah,
what that
man.
was. Um, there's a few movies that I want to go through before this, but since we're on the topic of Lost Boys,
You're gonna go near dark.
I'm gonna go Near Dark.
Woo! I am in your mind.
So this is why I'm saying, dude, 87.
Yeah,
We always saw what was Year of the Wolf. That was the movie that the Howling
that was
and
'81.
this is the year of the fucking vampire, dude.
Yeah. Is
Good
Dracula's
fucking.
Widow this year too, or is that '88?
I don't see a Dracula.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but we got
Uh,
fucking Lost Boys. We got Near Dark.
Catherine Bigelow.
I mean,
God, Catherine Bigelow is good, man. I wish she'd go back and
people.
direct another horror movie.
Me too. I mean, Near Dark is almost a perfect movie. I'd put that out there.
Really good.
I have negative feelings about this movie, not because of the movie itself,
Because you never
but
see bangs.
well, anytime there's a question asked about a vampire movie in the group, it's usually about The Lost Boys or Fright Night. And somebody always interjects with, "Well, what about Near Dark?" And it's just like the Near Dark fans are so jealous of the fucking attention that The Lost Boys and Fright Night get. I don't know. It's just weird. Near Dark does not need to feel inferior to anything. Near Dark is a great movie. It's a great
Impeccable.
vampire film. Yeah, yeah. Um, almost the entire cast of Aliens is in this.
Yeah, they went right from Alien to Catherine Bigelow to do Near Dark.
Yeah. Um, what's your ranking right now? If I had to grill you between Lost Boys, Fright Night, and Near Dark, where do you put those three?
Right now, because I could change like tomorrow, I would go Lost Boys, Fright Night, and Near Dark.
I agree, and that's not shitting on Near Dark.
Not at all. That's three epic vampire films.
Right.
Bill Paxton's character in Near Dark is arguably the best character out of all three fucking movies.
Yeah, sure. Well, at
But you
least
know, if you look at a totality of things that you like in each film, I just feel The Lost Boys, in my eyes, has the most to offer to me right now, and then
yeah,
followed by Fright Night and then Near Dark.
agreed.
I mean, right? I mean, all three just world beaters of film, and all three very, very different.
Yeah, all three very, very different.
I
Like the
mean, you could
same
do
but different.
a sit down for three vampire films and watch those three and just be completely satisfied because you got different aspects of vampirism, you know,
Yep.
in all three movies. It's awesome.
Well, just like werewolf movies too. Like you'll never see werewolves portrayed exactly the same, and you know it kind of that's what kind of makes it fresh, you know, or vamp. You know, it always kind of spices it up with each film. You know, it's not the mythology isn't like concretely set in stone. So directors have a little bit more, you know, stuff to play with. Um, how about this? So I'm going to go up a little bit. The Monster Squad.
Woo! So good.
Now, I was a big Universal Monster kid growing up, but you were not. So,
I watched the films, but they weren't go to movies in the early '80s because I was, you know, HBO was so brand new in my house, so I was catching all the horror movies that were out in the theaters the year before, so I didn't have to go back. The only time I went back to a lot of times, you know, watching the Universal films or the Hammer films was when I was watching Son of Sanguli on Saturdays. Um, but other than that, yeah, I was mainly watching, and this is before we got our VHS player, so it was mainly HBO that was giving me access to a lot of the '80s horror, and it was giving me a lot of access. So much so that I didn't have to go back to the Universal monster film.
right. But like, but saying that, I'd say that like a movie like this probably hit a little different for me than it did for you. Um, just because I was such a worshiper of those Universal movies. Um, to a big extent, like this was my aha, I told you so
Mm-hmm.
moment to a lot of people that I knew because like, you know, I couldn't get a lot of people to watch these movies. No, yeah, and I get it. Not a lot of kids. I mean, you won't get any today, but back when I was a kid, to get kids to watch black and white movies was really tough. And I was always trying to get them to watch like Dracula, the Wolfman, you know. And then this movie came out of nowhere, and it seemed to be made specifically for me because to this day, who was even looking at these movies in the 80s anymore? Not many not many kids, you know. But yeah, that's specifically kind of like why I love that movie, and it's a great movie. The designs of these creatures, specifically the Wolfman, the Mummy, and the creature, are pretty amazing.
Yeah, dude, I agree. You know, Stan Winston, of course, and Stan at that time, you know, before there was ADI, the guys that ran ADI, they were working for Stan, so they were a part of that movie. Steve Wang was a part of that movie. A lot of like all-time great sculptors that went on to work for Rick Baker were working under Stan at the time on that movie. You know, Steve Wang, he was part of the sculpting team on the creature, and then of course it was his paint job. Fucking probably the best version of Creature from the Black Lagoon in my eyes that we'll ever see until they do a remake.
I agree.
And even to this day, you know, I feel like Shape of Water was something different. It was more like Ape Sapien, which was also something different as far
I
as like
agree.
a quintessential, you know, homage to the Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's definitely number one.
Well, I don't know, man. Do you want to keep going, or should
Yeah,
we?
yeah. Let's finish off 87, and then we'll call it.
And then we'll do a part 3 with Paul, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll do a part 3 for 88 and 89. There's still so many in 87.
The Munchies. Like I can't not. Like I kept wanting to scroll past this one, but I
Do you
can't do it.
remember this one?
Yes, I remember this one. Do you?
I saw it once. So do tell.
Well, I mean, it's not like my favorite movie or anything. I don't watch it once a year. But I remember this one. Well, it's kind of the perverted version of the other ones. It's kind of like Meatballs. Like they put a little bit more sex in this one.
Mm-hmm.
The special effects of the monsters were not too good. But I don't know. When you're hanging out at your friend's house at 11 o'clock and the parents are in bed and this is on Cinemax and you guys are all watching it together, I have worse memories, of childhood. This was pretty good.
Dude, Friday and Saturday nights in the late 80s, man. At my house, where me invite my best friend over to stay the night, and we would literally stay up all night and either watch Headbangers Ball or watch a horror movie on HBO or Cinemax or both.
Yeah.
And dude, I'll tell you, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was the best.
Like, what do they do at sleepovers now?
I don't even know, man. TikTok videos?
Like TikTok videos and look at their phones? Like, do they even talk to each other? I'm serious. Like,
yeah.
That's so sad to me.
I mean,
like,
dude,
we used to have like a whole thing. Like, have the bowl of popcorn. You're doing the thing.
Yeah. Or I'd be watching USA Up All Night.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I go back before Rhonda Shears. I'm talking like Gilbert Godfrey in like 87, 88, I think, is when
Dude,
they
started. I did Captain USA.
Oh, yeah. Captain USA was great. USA Network had their Saturday Night Horror.
Elm Street.
Oh, here we go. Did you see this in the theater?
Nope.
Dude, this is another one, man. I mean, I am so fucking grateful that my parents allowed me to go to the theater to see this as a kid.
Like, were you of age when you went to see this?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I was 12. No, I'm not even. I was, when this came out, I was still 11. I hadn't even turned 12 yet.
Did a parent take you?
Took me and my best friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way to go, dude. Yeah, you can't see these. You have to have one boy with you.
Oh yeah, man. Normally,
when I say boy, I mean friend. I'm talking slang. You got to have one friend with you.
But dude, I saw all the hype leading up, to this movie with the Fat Boys music video, and there was hype around this, and they were targeting the MTV audience with like specials for this movie, and it was the first time I'd seen that kind of hype for a horror movie. Yeah. This fucking movie had hype that no other horror movie had before,
right?
Because they were channeling and targeting the MTV audience with all these commercial spots and tie-ins on MTV. And god damn it, if it didn't work, man. It fucking worked, dude. I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, me too. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, great movie. Good flick. Probably my favorite of the series, to be honest with you.
Over part 1?
I think so.
That's a bold statement, man. We'll have to talk about that on the side a little bit later.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just like I like the setting of the asylum as the I don't know. I like the Dream Warriors. And like the
it's definitely more fantastical. I just think the first one's like straight up horror.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they. You don't think the second one is straight up horror?
I think the second one's straight up horror. Yeah. I do. I think the first two are. I just think the first one's done better.
Fair enough. So what else we got here? Let's see.
The Dream Warriors, by the way, are fucking great, man.
Prince of Darkness.
Divisive film, dude. This might be like the first John Carpenter film that starts to get divisive. I think it's Prince of Darkness. I think this is the first film that you have like diehard Carpenter fans going, I'm not really sure where he's going. I don't know if I like it.
There are some good scenes to this.
I think there's some great scenes.
But I think it's one of his weaker efforts. I'll be honest with you. I think there's some great set pieces and not a lot of story.
So I put this film in his 10 years of greatness. I put this film in that decade. Like, I've said this 1,000 times. I think there's like a 10-year window where I don't think anybody could really touch what John Carpenter was doing. Right. I think if you look within that 10-year window, there's more films that Carpenter did that are all-time greats than I think any other fucking director I can think of, especially in the horror genre, at least in the horror genre.
Right.
So I put this film in that decade, but I think you could also look at this film as cracks in the foundation of things where you're like, I don't know if that really works. Right. I think They Live has some of that too. I also put They Live in his 10 years of greatness, but I also think, I'm not an idiot, I think there's things in They Live that you can look at and be like, does that really work? I don't know. Whereas like the Halloween, The Fog, Christine, The Thing, Escape from New York, everything works. There's not really anything that doesn't work. But in some of the, latter 80s films, you kind of start to see some of the cracks that I think just got more, exposed in some of his work in the 90s.
I think, honestly, that's always been there, but that's just me. I think it became more pronounced as the years went on. To the point where that's all it was. Like with
Ghost of Mars.
Ghost of Mars and Mouth of Madness. There are people that love Mouth of Madness.
A lot of people love In the Mouth of Madness. I am not one of them. I think there's great things in that movie.
I think there's great things in that movie.
I don't feel the movie works as a whole.
The movie itself is not great.
Right. And that's what
good ideas. They were really good ideas.
Sam Neill's great in it, of course.
But the execution is all over the place. And
but Prince of Darkness is, there's still enough Carpenter in there, enough greatness in there that I'll still sit down and watch it.
Sure.
And appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Let's see what else we got.
You go Killer Clowns yet?
I haven't seen it. Is that this year?
Oh yeah.
It's not in here. It's not in the cave.
Huh?
Let me look it up. Killer Clowns.
Pretty sure it's 87.
88.
Is it?
Yep. According to the internet, it's 88.
Okay.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2? Anything to say?
I just know people make fun of it for the garbage day scene.
Zombie Party Massacre 2?
Not a fan of those movies.
That's why we need Paul here, dude. He could
go. I know, dude.
Stepfather's pretty good.
Which one? Oh, Stepfather's great. That whole intro with him wiping out that first family. Fucking good,
sure.
Man.
Yeah. No, that's an actual legit horror movie.
Oh yeah. That's not a psychological thriller. That's a straight up horror movie.
And other than that, dude, like street trash.
You know, I work with a guy that's in that movie. My
He was
buddy, he's a
he
mold
was an
maker.
actor in it.
No, yeah, he's a mold maker over at Legacy. His name's Gary Yee, Yee, and he worked on. It was one of the first movies he ever worked on in New York because that's where he grew up, and he knows all those guys that made that movie. He was friends with all of them, so he's in the movie. I don't remember. I've only seen the movie once. Obviously, I don't think it's a very good movie, but it's got this cult following for sure. And I, he's 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 Asian, so I think there's a scene where he dies. So if anybody knows that movie, he's that guy that dies.
The Video Dead gets a lot of play in our group, but it's a terrible movie.
It's really bad.
Like really bad. Like
Yeah,
the effects are literally like plaster Paris on people's faces. Like that's a zombie. You know, it might be something more than that, but it doesn't seem like it, you know.
yeah, I love that cover though. What a great cover, right?
Yeah, great cover. But the movie never lives up to that.
No,
And yeah, that's about it.
87 too, man. I mean, we won't go into them because there were so many, but I think 87 is the year that really started launching the straight to VHS low budget independent horror movies. I think
See,
87 was the year where that whole fucking underground scene just exploded.
what I think we should do after we're done with the spotlight here, I think we should take the best, basically like what we're doing with the polls in the group. I think we should just take the best of all the years and just like talk about them and like kind of like pit them against each other. I think that would be fascinating,
I agree.
you know. And there's three of us. Well, usually, so like a tie will always be broken, you know.
Yeah, I
That would
agree.
be cool. That would be really neat.
And then we
So
could like take certain attributes for a certain film and put them up against the attributes of another film.
yeah,
Like, break it down on that level.
right. Like do like American Werewolf in London versus like A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like have those two films ever been compared and contrasted against before? Like
No.
that would be amazing.
Or which film has the better special effects, American Werewolf in London or The Thing?
Right. The Thing. It's close with The Thing.
I think that would be so close that I think that could even spawn an upset in the group. I think there's that kind of love for American Werewolf in London.
No, I think The Thing is. It's too automatic now. Like people just immediately vote for it as soon as they see it,
Yeah.
or like they don't even put any thought into it, which I get for like 90% of it because 90% of the time, you know, The Thing probably is the answer, but people don't even give it like a shot, you know.
Yeah, it'd be fun to tell though. We should definitely do that.
Yeah, we should definitely do like like an 80's poll and then just like talk about it. That would be great, and then move on.
Well, I mean, once we're done with the 80's, I think we should do the same thing for the 90's. I don't know how good I'd be doing that. I'd like to be a part of it because I could speak on certain things, but I definitely wouldn't have as much knowledge of the 70's or the 60's.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't either. No.
I think Paul would, especially with some of the Hammer films.
Yeah, and at some point we have to do the sequels. The sequels remix thing is really going to be good, but I keep saving it for him, and he keeps not coming. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do that next, but we'll see. But all right. Well, why don't we end it here, and then we can do another one with the with 88 and 89, and kind of go in depth into those years,
Yeah, that
and
sounds
even
great.
and even go back and
We
maybe
can
do a
start doing
compare. Yeah,
we can do 88, 89, and then go back and start doing the best of.
yeah, yeah, and maybe just setting up the like the different categories. that we're gonna
brother,
have
brother,
going.
the 80s are living rent free in our brains.
Yeah, always are, right? Well, anyway, dude, I know you're a busy dude, and you're hurt. You're working hurt tonight,
Woo! It's
and
my
we
neck
always
hurts right here,
appreciate you
man.
showing up and doing this, dude. And
Find out tomorrow how bad the damage is.
I just want to tell you that I really appreciate it every time you make time. I know you're a busy guy, and it's not just work. You also have a family and stuff like that. So every time you make time to do this kind of thing, I really appreciate it, and we really appreciate it. And I just want to say thanks.
Oh,
And
brother, thank you so much, man. I do it for the love, man.
yeah, dude. I mean, I have a blast every
Yeah.
time we do this, and I hope you do too.
Oh, brother, you know what it is, man. I mean, we've talked about this as well. I have so much fucking passion for horror movies, man. Same passion I have for
You know,
anything I like.
how
Whether
many
it's
talks have me and you just had over the phone
oh yeah,
when it wasn't even on YouTube or
yeah,
being recorded? And
yeah.
how long did we used to go? 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes.
Oh, dude. And it's so easy too when you're talking about something that you have that kind of passion for.
Flies by like that. It really does.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I just
and
wanted,
I just to know like-minded people and then to get in these great discussions, that's the best, man.
yeah. But I just want you to know that we really respect that your time is your own, and like you give it to us, and um, I personally really appreciate it. So,
Oh, thanks,
um,
brother. Well, I
so
love doing it, man. I love talking to you and I love talking to Paul.
yeah, dude, we're pretty much friends for life, I think, at this point.
Oh, dude, if we would have grown up in the same neighborhood, I would have
Yeah,
been reciting all of the movie quotes with you guys.
yeah, for sure. So, um, anyway, dude, great talking to you, and
Yeah, you
we'll
do.
do this again. We'll do the next couple years, and then we'll move on to maybe making our '80s brackets
Yeah, let's
for
do it in a couple weeks.
movies of the '80s. All
Sounds
right,
good.
cool. All right, man. Hey, take care, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later on in the week.
All
Take
right,
care.
bye. Bye.
There you go.